Chapter 1588. Brother, you're amazing. The others didn't see it clearly, but Ceylon did. But she was still young, so she only thought her brother was amazing. She didn't think too much about it. Colin's actions just now weren't normal at all. He didn't just catch the cup that fell. In an instant, he covered a distance of 10 meters. Colin sighed in relief. He didn't dare to tell his family about the strange changes in his body yet. Sitting at the dining table, Colin started to wolf down his food. Everyone looked at Colin in surprise. Hee. I didn't think Colin would like my food so much. Colin's grandmother said proudly. For an elder, the proudest thing was that their food could satisfy the younger generation. Colin also found out that his appetite had become extremely large. For lunch, he ate enough for 4 people. Even his family was worried for him. Colin knew that it was because of the changes in his body. Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, I'm going out for a walk. Colin wanted to test how much his body had changed. Colin found a secluded area, a hilly area overgrown with weeds. Colin held the stopwatch. The moment he pressed it, he rushed to the top of the mountain. However, after running for a few hundred meters, Colin stopped. His body couldn't take it anymore, but it only took him 3 seconds to cover 300 meters. Did he exchange his speed for endurance? Colin felt that his body had become stronger. But it wasn't as much as his speed. He couldn't keep up with his endurance. But after a short recovery, Colin found that his stamina had returned. Seems like his recovery rate was much better than before. It wasn't until the evening when Amy called him that Colin went home for dinner. After dinner, Ceylon suddenly found Colin. Brother, come here for a second. Darling, what's wrong? Colin came to his sister. Brother, can you sleep with me tonight? Ceylon's eyes flashed as she looked at Colin. You're already so big, you should learn to sleep by yourself. Colin rubbed Ceylon's head. But. Ceylon hesitated. But what? I'm scared. Last night, I think I saw someone standing in front of my bed, with a bloody face. A trace of fear appeared on Ceylon's face. Then, I heard your scream. When I opened my eyes again, you were gone. Colin's heart skipped a beat. Was he imagining things? Was that just a misconception on his part? Ceylon saw it too. All right, I'll accompany you tonight. Colin was still worried about his sister. However, Colin's heart was a little uneasy. He had a nagging feeling that something bad was about to happen. Karan, are you sleeping with Ceylon tonight? Amy didn't expect Colin to make such a request. After all, Ceylon was already 10 years old. American parents would usually give their children a separate room when they were 2 or 3 years old. Ceylon doesn't look too stable, I'll keep an eye on her, Colin said. He also could not tell his mother that he and Ceylon had seen a ghost. All right. You're her brother. You can look after her. Amy nodded. Colin and Ceylon were in the same room. Because it was still early, neither of them felt sleepy. Ceylon was playing a game, while Colin was holding a rubber ball, practicing throwing and catching it. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. Both Ceylon and Colin paused. Something's coming. Then Colin saw a face appear on the wall. Whether it was Ceylon or Colin, they both saw that face. Ah! Ceylon screamed. Colin was also extremely shocked. But he still plucked up his courage and threw the rubber ball at the face. The face on the wall immediately retracted. Colin held Ceylon's hand and walked out. But when they reached the living room, they found Amy, Grandpa and Grandma lying unconscious on the floor. Oh no! Colin finally realized the seriousness of the problem. This place was haunted. It really was haunted. The lights in the whole house flickered. Ceylon was already hiding in Colin's arms, not daring to look up. Colin was also a little lost. Take Ceylon out first. Then come back and take the family out of the house. That was the only way. Colin carried Ceylon and rushed out. He only stopped when he was 100 meters away from the house. At this time, Colin was already exhausted. Looking back, he saw a dozen white shadows in the sky following them. Colin's face changed slightly. These things weren't originally from the house. Were they following Ceylon, or himself? Colin didn't care about his fatigue. He carried Ceylon and ran again. Colin didn't know where to take Ceylon. He could only run around aimlessly. But when the two went to a busy street, those things didn't follow them anymore. At this time, Colin was already exhausted. Colin thought about it. What should he do now? Take Ceylon home. Would it hurt his mother and grandpa and grandma? This was something he had to think about. Find his father. His father might be hurt too. Right, at least let his father find a place for them to stay. Colin was really too tired now. He really didn't have the energy to take Ceylon running around. After Colin made his decision, he took out his phone and dialed Angelite's number. Dad, Ceylon and I are on the street. On the street? Did you come out to play? Dad, we're not playing outside. Can you help us get a room in a hotel? You ran away from home. And no, it's a bit complicated. Colin stuttered. Tell me, what happened? Angelite asked. Don't ask. Where are you now? I'll come get you. Not long later, Angelite arrived. He saw his son and daughter sitting on a bench on the street. His daughter was still in her pajamas. Colin was barefoot. Colin, what's going on? Dad, Colin hesitated for a long time. He still couldn't tell the truth. What's going on? We might have met. Suddenly, Angelite flung a dagger at Colin without any warning. Colin hugged his head in fright. But the next moment, he realized that Angelite's dagger wasn't aimed at him. Colin turned around and saw that Angelite's dagger had stabbed an evil spirit. The evil spirit screamed and turned to dust. Dad, you. Colin's mouth was wide open. He looked at his father in shock. Chapter 1589. Colin suddenly realized that he didn't recognize his father anymore. So unfamiliar, so mysterious. Dad. You. Are you really my dad? Angelite angrily stepped forward and slapped the back of Colin's head. What are you talking about? Of course I'm your father. Angelite said with a dark face, you can see those things. Both Ceylon and I can see them. Angelite's heart skipped a beat. When did you see it? Last night. Last night. Colin said, I saw something. It was that thing standing in front of Ceylon's bed. It was Ceylon. Angelite's face was uncertain. Today is the second night. Tell me the details. Colin told him everything that had happened yesterday and today in detail. Then, Colin asked, Father, what is going on? It has nothing to do with you. Leave Ceylon with me and go home immediately. Put your mom, grandpa and grandma on the bed and pretend nothing happened. Angelite said. Dad, this matter is not because of you, but because of Ceylon. Wherever Ceylon is, there will be problems. You can't solve this matter. Dad, you're not a normal person, are you? Colin asked. Angelite's eyes flashed. After a while, he finally made up his mind. Since you've already awakened, there's no need for me to hide it from you. You and I are the same, we're both spiritualists. We have different bloodlines from normal people. You've also noticed your extraordinary speed. Dad, do you have the same speed? I'm much faster than you, and I can run for hours without getting tired. Angelit said. Why? You have better stamina than me. That's impossible, you're already 40 years old. Not only am I stronger than you, my magic is also stronger. Angelit said, and I have special magic, so I know how to use my stamina and magic better. Colin really didn't think his family had such a shocking secret. Dad, what about Ceylon? What's with her? She can be considered to be of the same kind as us, but she's also different. Angelit said, she has awakened her witch talent, and you just said that the evil spirits didn't attack her last night. Today, the evil spirits just pestered her and didn't attack her, which means that her witch talent is unique. She is a very powerful witch who awakened on the third night. Angelit slapped his head. I should have known that Ceylon fainted last time because she went through a death calamity. What is a dead end? The awakening of a witch is different from that of a male spiritualist. We have a special bloodline, so our awakening is also awakening the power of our bloodline. We can't learn most magic, and only magic that is highly compatible with our bloodline can be learned. But witches are different. What they awaken is magic. Angelit said, and before a witch awakens, she will encounter a life and death calamity. First is the death calamity, which is very complicated. In short, she will encounter the threat of death, and after passing the death calamity, she will encounter the life calamity, which is the attack of evil spirits. Ordinary witches will be attacked on the first night, powerful witches will be attacked on the second night, and like Ceylon, she will only be attacked tomorrow night. Witches who awaken on the first night, second night, and third night will be attacked more and more. Dad. You mean, Ceylon will be attacked by a very strong evil spirit tomorrow night? Angelit nodded, yes, very scary, I need help, I can't handle it alone. Dad, I can also help you. You? Forget it, you can't do it, you're too weak. Angelit shook his head, the third night is a very scary night, normal spiritualists can't participate. No, I'm Ceylon's brother, I can't just stand by and watch. I said no means no. Angelit said firmly. What a joke, he had seen how scary the third night was. Back then he was much stronger than Cullen, but he was also in danger on the third night. Not to mention the current rookie Cullen. I don't agree, I can't just stand by and watch Ceylon be in danger. Ceylon won't be in danger, I can find very strong helpers. Angelit said. Dad, are there a lot of people like us in this world? Not many. Angelit said indifferently, okay, go home. Cullen was obviously not willing to leave. Dad, teach me magic, I don't know how to use my abilities, I don't want to be like today. We'll talk about it later. No matter what, Angelit did not want his son to get involved. Cullen was still not discouraged. He stubbornly stood where he was. Angelit glanced at Cullen and took out his phone. President, it's me. What? Is your daughter unconscious again? No, Angelit said. But my daughter's magic awakened. I need help on the third night. Okay, I understand. You're still in San Jose, right? President, call a few more people over, Angelit said. My son wants to participate too, so send someone to watch him. Can't you just watch him? Leave the rest to me. How can I do that? She's my daughter, I can't just stand by and watch. Angelit was a typical case of letting the officials do whatever they wanted, but not the people. Hearing this, Cullen was furious. His father had actually sent someone to watch him. How could he tolerate this? Cullen stared at Angelit, gritting his teeth. Will you be fine tonight? Chen Zhao asked. Yes, it's just a few evil spirits. It's not a big problem. Then I'll bring someone to San Jose tomorrow, Chen Zhao said. Since it was the third night, there was no rush. Anyway, the third night would only happen at night. Although the birth of his daughter, little Larissa, had been very abnormal, it was still a miracle. However, he believed that Angelite's daughter's third night wouldn't be that abnormal. No problem. Angelite was not in a hurry either. There was still plenty of time before the real night of awakening. With Chen Zhao here, the safety of this matter was guaranteed. Also, Chen Zhao would bring people from the association, so it would be even safer. Actually, Chen Zhao alone was enough. But bringing more people was to ensure that someone could protect Ceylon if Chen Zhao could not take care of her. Chapter 1590. Angelite was at the airport. He watched as a large group of people walked out of the arrival gate. Angelite's expression froze. Angelite stepped forward. My friends, are you going to start a war? Apart from the outer members and the evil spirit group, everyone who could come was here. Including Adus, Angelite didn't doubt that these people could really start a war. It's been a long time since we've had a mission that requires us to work together, West said. The president only wanted to bring a few people, but I suggested that everyone who wanted to come. Where's the president? Angelite realized that Chen Zhao hadn't come out of the arrival gate. He shouldn't be absent. Although the people before him were completely capable of dealing with Third Night, Chen Zhao was the stabilizing force of the supernatural organization. Chen Zhao's presence and absence were two completely different feelings. The president's brewery seems to have some business. He'll only come in the afternoon. Then I'll send you to the hotel first. Mr. Chen, the food supplier, increased the price of Kansas dangle wheat by 3 times, Denver said angrily. They used us to become famous, but now they're blackmailing us. Chen Zhao frowned. This wasn't a good sign. He didn't like being blackmailed. Kansas dangle wheat was a high-quality wheat among the many grain-producing areas in America. This was also why he'd chosen Kansas dangle wheat. But this definitely wasn't a reason for blackmail. The food supplier seemed to think that Mountain Beer had to use Kansas dangle wheat. Change the raw materials, Chen Zhao said without thinking. Denver looked at Chen Zhao. He didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so decisive. However, Denver had his own concerns. Mountain Beer's situation was great at the moment. The taste of Mountain Beer had won a lot of praise. If they changed the raw materials now, would it affect the taste or even the sales? The food supplier had indeed increased the price of Kansas dangle wheat by 3 times. However, this price was still within the acceptable range. After all, Mountain Beer's net profit was very high. As one of the raw materials, Kansas dangle wheat took up about 10% of the cost. Mr. Chen, will it affect the taste? Chen Zhao sneered. I won't. Just change the ingredients. Oh, make an announcement that there's a problem with the original ingredients, so Mountain Beer will be changing them. Chen Zhao always took his revenge without delay. The food supplier took advantage of Dashan Beer's misfortune. Of course, Chen Zhao wouldn't take it lying down. If the Kansas dangle wheat was irreplaceable. In that case, Chen Zhao could only grit his teeth and swallow it. But now, Chen Zhao had the initiative. The other party actually made such an unreasonable request. In that case, he had to be prepared for Dashan Beer's counterattack. As for how many people Chen Zhao's announcement would screw over, it had nothing to do with him. Right now, Chen Zhao was truly a capitalist. The first requirement for a capitalist was to be ruthless. As for the farmers in Dangle, Kansas, they could only blame it on the seller. Of course, they were not completely free of responsibility. The farmers might have their own ideas about the price increase this time. Think about it, the price of the grain supplier will increase by 3 times. If it weren't for the lower-level individual farmers raising prices, would the grain suppliers have raised prices by so much? Originally, the raw ingredients took up 10% of the cost. Now that the price was tripled, it would take up 30% of the cost. How much would that reduce Chen Zhao's profit margin? No one would be willing to accept such an outcome. So, Chen Zhao's idea was to take revenge on them first. This was to prevent such a thing from happening again. He would see if there were any other raw material suppliers who dared to raise prices. I know what to do. Denver nodded. Chen Zhao almost never interfered with the management of the brewery. This was something that Denver accepted and respected. So, Chen Zhao would occasionally mention it and Denver was happy to listen to Chen Zhao's suggestions. Denver, I'm leaving now. I'll probably go out in the next 2 days. If you have any other questions, call me or find Alex. Alex was now Mountain Beer's highly paid legal consultant. Meanwhile, Alex was still recruiting a legal team. As Mountain Beer's brand value grew, more and more interests were involved. There would be more and more places that needed legal help. For example, if a consumer had a stomachache after drinking Mountain Beer, they would need the legal department to find out if the stomachache was caused by the beer. For example, if Mountain Beer wanted to enter a certain city's sales channel, they would need the legal department because the local government's policies affected Mountain Beer's interests. Chen Zhao installed 2 more production lines in the factory. When they had enough raw ingredients, they could expand production. In the future, they would be able to supply the market with enough raw ingredients. After leaving the brewery, Chen Zhao hurried to the airport. He landed in San Jose at 1 in the afternoon. Chen Zhao called Elite and told him that he'd be there before 7. Since it was still early, Chen Zhao planned to stroll around San Jose. He mainly wanted to see the world-famous Silicon Valley. At first, Silicon Valley wasn't big. It was located in the south of the San Francisco Bay Area. But as it grew, Silicon Valley began to expand outwards. To the north of San Jose, there was a valley about 25 miles wide that was also part of Silicon Valley. Basically, the most famous internet and technology companies in the world were gathered here. Chen Zhao didn't have the mentality of a pilgrimage. He just wanted to see. Chen Zhao rented a car at the airport and started roaming around Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley's GDP accounted for about 5% of America's annual GDP. All the companies in Silicon Valley combined were worth more than $4 trillion. Apple alone was worth $1.2 trillion, making it the most valuable company in the world. Colon was running on the beach road at the moment. Elite had said that as long as he could run from the San Francisco Bay Area Beach Highway to downtown San Jose, a distance of 30 kilometers, then he would qualify for the 3rd night. Of course, that was if he could make it in time. Colon was very competitive, so he immediately took a car to the San Francisco Bay Area. Then he really ran back with his legs. Elite taught him some ways to control his stamina. Colon felt that he had improved a lot. Halfway there, Colon suddenly saw a man that left a deep impression on him. That man had brought him unforgettable humiliation. Especially when he'd been humiliated in front of the girl he liked. Colon watched Chen Zhao slowly drive his sports car on the beach road. The anger in his eyes was about to burst out. Chapter 1591. Chen Zhao could already feel that someone was following him. He could also see the person's face in the rearview mirror. Even though it had been a few days, Chen Zhao still had a deep impression of Colon. He just didn't expect to meet him here. Chen Zhao purposely slowed down to see what the guy was planning. He finally chose a road without surveillance cameras and stopped the car. Kalon watched in surprise as Chen Zhao alighted from the car. Then he realized that Chen Zhao was looking at him with a faint smile. Had Chen Zhao discovered him long ago? Since he discovered him, he still dared to stop the car. Well, he still thought that Chen Zhao was his old self. Kalon didn't try to hide anymore. He walked up to Chen Zhao with large strides. I didn't expect to meet you here. Kalon glared at Chen Zhao. He was already planning how to teach Chen Zhao a lesson. Your injuries healed pretty fast. Chen Zhao tilted his head and looked at Kalon. Chen Zhao was reminding him not to look for trouble. It was enough to teach a young man like him a lesson once. But if Kalon insisted on getting close, Chen Zhao wouldn't go easy on him. You still remember that? Kalon stared at Chen Zhao, his face filled with anger. Kalon cracked his knuckles. Kid, stop fooling around. You can't beat me. Chen Zhao's disdainful attitude made Kalon even more furious. I'm not my old self anymore. Let me think. The old you was 3 days ago, no, 4 days ago, right? Are you any different from 4 days ago? Kalon looked at Chen Zhao's nonchalant gaze and a proud smile appeared on his face. You'll know soon. Kalon suddenly punched Chen Zhao's stomach. But Chen Zhao caught Kalon's fist. Chen Zhao and Kalon stared at each other. Are you any different from 4 days ago? Kalon was dumbfounded too. Was it because of his current condition? Yes, it was definitely because of his condition. Pfft, Chen Zhao didn't hold back. He punched Kalon's stomach. Whoa, Kalon clutched his stomach and curled up on the ground. Chen Zhao squatted down before Kalon and patted his cheek. Kid, I didn't break your ribs this time. You should feel lucky. Chen Zhao didn't kill him. However, the strength of this punch was enough to make Kalon bedridden for 2 days. If you're not convinced, you're welcome to come find me next time. You know where I live, Chen Zhao said, smiling. I will get my revenge. I will definitely find you. Kalon endured the intense pain and shouted, unwilling to give up. Anytime. Kalon struggled to get up, but fell back to the ground after just 1 step. That damned bastard, he was too heavy-handed. Kalon pulled open his shirt and saw that his abdomen was completely black. Dad. I can't participate tonight. Karan endured the pain and called Enrich. He also wanted to go. He also wanted to put in some effort to protect his sister. But putting aside his ability, he would only be a burden in his current state. Moreover, he really didn't want his father to know. If he went to find his enemy for revenge, he would be humiliated by his enemy instead. This kind of thing was too embarrassing. Hearing that his son had retreated, Enrich was somewhat relieved. But he was more confused. He knew his son's temperament too well. He had completely inherited his wife's personality. They were both so stubborn. Why would he suddenly give up? After hanging up, Enrich was still a bit worried. Mo, come here. Enrich, what are you doing? Ever since Moore had caused Enrich to lose an arm because of his mistake. He also heard that Enrich almost caused a family revolt because of him. Moore's guilt toward Enrich had reached its peak. Do me a favor and I'll let this go. Tell me, Moore said, patting his chest. Even if you want me to slay a dragon, I won't even frown. Enrich rolled his eyes. Even if you wanted to slay a dragon, there had to be a dragon for you to slay. Plus, can you even slay a dragon, Gaia? Fine, I don't need you to slay a dragon, Enrich said. Just do one simple thing. Go to my wife's house and watch over my son. What? What's wrong with your son? Are you father and son not on good terms? Is there a grudge between the two of you? Did you mistreat him when he was young and then he took revenge on you when he grew up? Moer was already imagining all kinds of weird stories and pictures in his head. A melodramatic script of a father and son killing each other. You're thinking too much. My son just awakened his bloodline. I'm afraid he'll do something stupid. But I'm more needed here. Moore really didn't want to be a nanny. It was more interesting to stay here and fight. The president is already in San Jose. What's the difference if you're here or not? Also, if the president attacks, do you think you'll have a chance? The president isn't that bored. There's no need for him to attack just for the third night. Of course, Engelite knew that for the supernatural organization, the third night was a battle for them to train. Chen Zhao had also said that he'd protect Ceylon and the others could fight however they wanted. But Engelite was afraid that his son would recklessly come and join in. The third night might not be dangerous for them. However, he clearly remembered how dangerous Norma's third night had been. And his son was still a newbie. Awakened less than 2 days ago, even an ordinary evil spirit could hurt him. Unless he stayed by the president's side and had the president protect him. But the president had to protect Ceylon. If Kalon didn't listen and joined in, it'd be dangerous. That was why Engelite wanted Moore to watch over Kalon. Moore really didn't want to be a nanny. But he didn't have the right to reject Angelite's request. Speaking of which, his daughter's awakening was more or less related to him. Depressed, Moore said, "Fine, I'll go. I'll go to your wife's house." What should I say? Just say that a junior of mine has just arrived in San Jose and doesn't have a place to stay, so he's staying there for a night. Fine. Moore could only agree reluctantly. My son's ability is the same as mine. We've both awakened speed abilities. His ability level is very low right now. You can easily subdue him. Chapter 1592. Knock, knock, the door opened. Amy's mother opened it. She saw a young man standing in front of the door. Who are you looking for? Hi, Grandma. My dad is Uncle Angelite's friend. I just arrived in San Jose and don't have a place to stay, so Uncle Engelite asked me to stay here for a day. Is that okay? Moore was carrying a backpack. His innocent face was very deceiving. Of course, of course. Come in. Amy's mother had some complaints about Engelite. But she wouldn't take it out on someone who was still here. Thank you, Grandma. Moore looked at her sincerely. Actually, there were some missions in the supernatural organization that required disguises. Moore could also disguise himself as a harmless child. Therefore, for Moer, this level of disguise was a piece of cake. Child, what's your name? My name is Moore. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm here for school. You're only staying for a day. If you need, you can stay here forever. Thank you, Grandma, but it's okay. I have to report to school tomorrow. The school will open the dorms. Amy's mother thought about it. School was about to start for summer. Okay. If you need anything, you can come here anytime. You're coming alone. I asked for it. I'm an adult now. Just then, Amy's father walked in. Amy's mother then introduced Moore to her husband. Both husband and wife were getting on in years, and they were very concerned about Mo. Kalon heard some noise outside. He pulled back the blanket and looked at the door. He saw a strange young man standing at the door. The strange young man was looking at him with a strange smile. The young man's eyes seemed to be saying that he knew him. Kalon endured the pain and sat up. Who are you? Your dad called me. Moore walked into Colin's bedroom with a smile. Colin looked at Moore in confusion. My dad. Why did he call you here? To keep an eye on you. Keep an eye on me. Colin's mind was in a mess. What do you mean? Enrich was afraid that you would cause trouble, so he called me to keep an eye on you. Oh. You're a spiritualist too. Colin rolled his eyes. Hee hee, little guy, keep an eye on me. Do you think you can do it? I think my father thinks you're a burden, so he tricked you here and asked me to watch over you. Hee hee, whatever you think, Moore said indifferently. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't care at all, but he couldn't do anything about it. Since he had promised Enrich, he could only bite the bullet and accept this mission. As for what Colin had said, that he was a burden. Moore snorted disdainfully. Moore sat on the swivel chair in front of the desk. Colin looked at Moore and said provocatively, did I poke a sore spot? In fact, you know in your heart that you're a burden. You don't understand. You don't understand Enrich, you don't understand me, and you don't understand our abilities. If I want to leave now, can you stop me? Moore glanced at Colin. You can try. Colin stood up, but as soon as he did so, the pain in his abdomen began to twist. If I release my full speed, can you catch up to me? Moore took out a dagger and said, if you dare step out of the room, believe it or not, I will die in front of you. Colin was stunned. What did you just say? Are you mistaken? No, I'm serious. Moore looked at Colin seriously. Then, Moore suddenly punched himself in the chest. Poochie, blood spurted out. Colin was shocked. What are you doing? Stop right now. You're crazy, you lunatic. Moore pulled out his dagger with a smile. Colin looked at Chen Zhao in shock. This is your ability? Sort of. Do you want to know what my ability is? Since it was Moore's power, Colin thought. That meant he wasn't injured. Colin nodded. Yes. Tell your grandfather and grandmother that you're taking me out to play. We'll find a place with no one around. After Colin informed his grandparents, he brought Moore out of the house. Colin took Moore to the place where he had practiced his abilities the day before. Let me see your ability, Colin said impatiently. Moore looked at Colin. I'm standing before you. That means my ability. What do you mean? Suddenly, Moore self-destructed. For a moment, Colin's vision was a bloody mess. Colin's mouth was agape as he stared at the horrifying scene in front of him. Dead? How could this be? What had happened? How could he explain this to his grandparents? How could he explain this to his father? Just as Colin was at a loss, a voice sounded. How is it? Are you scared? Colin turned his head and realized that Moore had been standing behind him for some time. You. Then. What's going on? Doppelganger spell. That was my doppelganger, Moore said nonchalantly. Just then, another Moore appeared. Colin's face was filled with shock. Amazing. Are you sure it's not a twin? To Colin, his ability was amazing, but at least it wasn't completely unacceptable. But Moore could create a doppelganger that looked exactly the same. This was unbelievable. Colin hadn't come into contact with magic yet. He hadn't experienced the charm and mystery of magic. To him, any kind of magic could amaze and shock him. Bang! Moore's doppelganger exploded again. Then, another doppelganger appeared. Do you believe me now? Yes, I believe you. Colin nodded. But your doppelganger spell doesn't seem very powerful. I'm just showing you my magic. If my doppelganger self-destructed, this place would be razed to the ground. That powerful? Of course. I'm one of the elders of the supernatural organization. Supernatural organization. Colin remembered that when Elite called him last night, he seemed to have mentioned this term. It's the organization that your father and I are in. Your father is also one of the elders. What does the supernatural organization do? On a larger scale, it's to maintain world peace, Moore said. What about on a smaller scale? In Los Angeles, they beat up whoever they don't like. Whoever causes trouble in Los Angeles will be punished. Can I join? That depends on your father's opinion, and then our chairman's approval. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens Godly Emperor Mobile Version. Chapter 1593. I understand that you need your president's permission, Colin said bluntly. But I'm an adult now. I don't need my father's approval for my decisions. You don't need it, but we do, Moore said matter-of-factly. If not for Elite, Chen Zhao definitely wouldn't let Colin join. Everyone could understand. Under Chen Zhao's leadership, everyone in the supernatural organization had become much stronger. Moreover, the resources and treatment in the association were much better than before. But every mission still had a certain amount of danger. Even Chen Zhao couldn't guarantee everyone's safety. For example, the underground exploration had been in danger because of this. If Chen Zhao hadn't arrived in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Of course, no one in the supernatural organization could shake Chen Zhao's authority. Moore still remembered how their lives had been before Chen Zhao became their president. Their monthly salary was enough to fill their stomachs. Their headquarters had been converted from a second-floor warehouse in that abandoned neighborhood. Moore had even worked part-time as a street thug. He even had to calculate if there was too much magic phosphorus. After Chen Zhao arrived, the first thing he did was kill the parasite, Worcester. Then their good days came. Unknowingly, their strength had also increased to an unbelievable level. It was power that they had to look up to in the past. Chen Zhao might not have managed the organization. But to everyone in the association, Chen Zhao was the undisputed leader. What if I surpass my dad? Moore looked at Colin in surprise. Elite is many times stronger than you. If he can do it, so can I, Colin said decisively. Let's not talk about whether you can do it or not. Even if you're stronger than Elite, the president won't agree. Then I'll defeat your president. Whoosh, Moore's opinion of Colin was that ignorance was bliss. You don't understand how strong our president is. Everything depends on effort. Fine, I admire your courage and confidence. Moore didn't have high hopes for Colin, but he still admired his arrogance and confidence. What's your ranking in the supernatural organization? I don't know. Moore thought for a moment. Probably the bottom. Then I'll start with you. What do you mean by starting from me? Do you want to defeat me? That's right. Colin nodded. I don't think your doppelganger magic is stronger than mine. I see. You can give it a try. Moore shrugged. Colin stared at Moore, then suddenly sped up. Colin had only wanted to push Moore down, not to hurt him. However, the moment Colin's hand touched Moore's, Moore had already grabbed Colin's wrist and kicked him again. Colin fell to the ground, his face full of shock. Because Moore had knocked him down with pure combat skills. How could this be? I'm so much faster than you. Our association does not only train in magic, but also in combat. Moore said calmly, most of our opponents are close-range fighters. I'm the weakest fighter in the association. Your only advantage is speed, but your battle awareness is too weak. I don't believe it. I was just careless just now. Colin was more cautious this time. He swung his fist at Moore. But this time, he only took half a step back and tripped him. Because Colin was too fast, he rolled a few times on the ground before stopping. So weak. I didn't even use magic and you were already down. Moer smirked. Moer had passed the first level of the Tower of Trials. Every time he entered the Tower of Trials, he had to endure the attacks of hundreds of monsters. Even the weakest of battle awareness would transform him into a combat expert. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Colin stood up again and again, but was knocked down again and again by Moer. Colin felt that he was too embarrassed to show his face. His opponent was just a kid a few years younger than him. How could he play with him like a toy? After a few attempts, Colin didn't get up again. He wanted to try again. But he was already injured. After being knocked down by Moer a few more times, he was not only tired, but also in pain. Moer, who's stronger between you and my dad? Your dad. His current strength is close to the first tier. The first tier. Is it your president? No, the president is much stronger than the first tier. Even if all of us work together, we can't beat the president. That's strong. Colin didn't really have a concept of strength. He couldn't even figure out Moer's strength. Not to mention that Moer was talking about the first tier. As for Moer saying that he could raise this area to the ground. Colin didn't know that either. But Colin saw Moer talking about their president. The brilliance in his eyes was like the eyes of fans when they talked about their idols. He couldn't help but look down on him. You don't believe it? Moer asked with his head lowered. I'm just a beginner. Sooner or later, I'll beat all of you. The two left the area. Colin didn't plan to go home for now. Moer didn't care either. He just needed to stay by his side. Amy hurried to the hotel where Engelit was staying. Because she found out that Engelit had taken Ceylon away, and had done so without informing her. This made Amy's imagination run wild. She thought that Engelit was going to divorce her and steal her child. And no matter how she called Engelit today, his phone was always turned off. This made her even more furious. Amy knocked on the door of Engelit's room. Amy, why are you here? Engelit opened the door and looked at Amy in shock. Where's Ceylon? Where did you hide her? Ceylon. Wait. Engelit walked to the opposite door and knocked. At this time, the door opened and Amy saw an incredibly tall woman. Could it be that Engelit liked this flavor? To be honest, Amy was really scared when she saw Gaia. Gaia seemed to be going through her second puberty. She was now 212 centimeters tall. Ceylon, come out. Mom's here. Mom. Ceylon rushed out of Gaia's room. Mom, why are you here? Amy looked at Gaia with a faint smile. Engelit, aren't you going to introduce me? Chapter 1594. Hello, I'm Gaia. I'm Engelit's colleague. Colleague? Amy was still doubtful. Are you here for a holiday? To be precise, everyone from our company is here, Gaia said. Our company booked the entire hotel. The hotel wasn't big and it only cost a few $100,000 to book it for a day. To ensure that there wouldn't be too many ordinary people on the third night, they booked the entire hotel. Amy froze and turned to look at Engelit. The entire floor is filled with our colleagues, Engelit said. Didn't you resign from the insurance company? It's my new job, Engelit said. I didn't tell you that I've been looking for a job outside. Then why did you lie to me? Ms. Amy, actually, our company's business is connected to the government and there's a confidentiality agreement. Engelit just joined the company a few days ago and can't contact the outside world before he finishes his business. That's why he said he went abroad. Ha! Amy was dumbfounded. What was wrong with the plot? Then, why did he come back the day before yesterday? He gave up the business and signed a guarantee that he wouldn't leak secrets, so we let him go. Of course, his salary for this month is gone too, Gaia said. Hearing this, Amy's face turned green and red. She recalled Angelite's attitude. He insisted that he didn't cheat, but he still didn't want to talk about where he went. Amy blamed herself even more. Why don't I call everyone out so you can get to know them? Gaia said. Would there be some confidentiality clause? It's fine. They brought their families too, Gaia said with a smile. At Gaia's call, the doors opened one by one. Amy saw that the group was very special. There were indeed a few children. There were also young people and 2 older ones. West was a shrewd old man. In addition, when Gaia knocked on the door just now, she had already given him some instructions. That was why West called himself the manager of the company. Amy didn't dare to ask too much. She was worried that if she asked too much, she would come into contact with secrets and cause trouble for Engelite. Engelite, why didn't you tell me that you brought Ceylon to the hotel? I asked Kalon to tell you. Didn't he tell you? In any case, Engelite pushed the blame to his son. She believed that her son would keep it a secret for the sake of the family's peace. Amy, on the other hand, had been blaming herself. However, she had no other suspicions. After all, it was already a big deal to be able to book the entire hotel. If Engelite wanted to act, he wouldn't have made such a big scene. After Amy and Engelite returned to their room, Amy couldn't help but ask, Engelite, will I go to jail if I leak any secrets? I won't go to jail, but it will be very troublesome. Engelite said, I brought Ceylon here, not Kalon, because Kalon is old. If he discovers any secrets, it will be very troublesome, but Ceylon doesn't have this problem. Did you all bring confidential documents when you came out? No, but it's hard to avoid talking about work when colleagues are together. If I accidentally spill the beans, it will cause trouble for them. I'm just a new employee now, and I don't want to be isolated by my colleagues in the company. Amy thought about it and felt that Angelite's worries were reasonable. I'll go back now, then Amy can stay here for now. Engelite didn't expect the marriage crisis to be resolved so easily. But Amy's attitude clearly softened. There was nothing to worry about Amy staying here. There were children here anyway. The girl named Lisa seemed to be 2 or 3 years older than her daughter. Ceylon and Lisa were having a good time. When Amy got out of the elevator, she saw an Asian man walking towards the elevator. Amy's heart skipped a beat. You also work for the company? Chen Zhao was stunned. What company? Isn't Engelite your company's employee? Chen Zhao was stunned at first. Then he frowned. What did he say? Amy was just testing him, but when she saw Chen Zhao's expression, she immediately understood. She immediately realized that by asking such an unnecessary question, would she be misunderstood as having come into contact with confidential information? Chen Zhao could roughly guess some things, although he did not know the specific situation. However, Chen Zhao still asked calmly, Lady, who are you to Engelite? I'm his wife, sir. I'm sorry, Engelite didn't tell me anything confidential. It's best if he didn't. Chen Zhao looked at Amy with a scrutinizing gaze. But I'll have someone investigate whether he did or not. Sir, lady, I'm busy. Please, Chen Zhao said coldly. Amy became even more worried. Would her words cause trouble for Engelite? Sir, I can cooperate with your investigation. Please don't fire Engelite. Lady, I know about you and Elite, but I'll personally verify if he leaked any confidential information. With that, the elevator door closed. Amit stood there, more and more worried. The Asian seemed to be an executive of the company. Judging from his aura and tone, he wasn't an ordinary employee. However, when Chen Zhao went upstairs, he asked about Angelite's specific situation. After learning about the situation, Chen Zhao also heaved a sigh of relief. Thankfully, it wasn't exposed. Otherwise, Elite would probably divorce his wife. Fortunately, Chen Zhao had reacted quickly just now. Everything he said was ambiguous. They planned to have a party on the hotel's rooftop. Most importantly, it was Sealand's Night of Awakening. So, they could solve Sealand's Night of Awakening while they were having a party. The hotel staff had already started arranging and decorating the rooftop. Everyone went to the rooftop one after another. At this time, the sun had just set, and the party had already begun. West sat with Sealand and tried to get close to the girl. West's idea was simple. Sealand was the third witch to awaken. Her future was immeasurable. If she could join the supernatural organization, she would definitely become a powerful witch like Hallie's or Norma. Then, with Angelite's approval, the organization would have another powerful fighter. As for Angelite's attitude, Chen Zhao could slowly work on it. When the time came, Chen Zhao would let nature take its course. He wouldn't be angry whether Elite wanted his daughter to join the supernatural organization or not. Please remember the original domain name of this book, 9 Heavens Godly Emperor mobile version. Chapter 1595. By now, the sky had already darkened. Colin and Moore walked on the street. Don't you have money? Moore complained as he looked at Colin. Colin blushed at Moore's words. Do you know that my monthly income is over $10,000? But you still don't have money. I just didn't bring it, Moore said. It's a bit cold. Colin suddenly shivered. Just then, Moore stopped and looked into the distance. What's wrong? Colin looked at Moore, who had stopped. Just then, Colin saw a white shadow fly over their heads. That's, the third night is coming, Moore said. Right now, all the evil spirits in San Jose were attracted there. Ha! The Night of Awakening. Nala Miri saw a few evil spirits fly over her head. Looks like it's coming from that direction. Nala Miri's thought for a while and decided to go over to take a look. Of course, if it was within her power, she would also help him. Many awakened witches didn't have anyone to protect them. Sometimes, they didn't even know that danger was approaching. Also, there were very few spiritualists in San Jose. You could count them on your fingers. If necessary, they would help each other. Helping a witch through the Night of Awakening could also add some liveliness to the spiritual world of San Jose. Just at this moment, a threatening chill spread over. Nala Miri shivered. She saw a huge ball of cold air moving at a slow speed not far away. Nala Miri's was shocked. Was that the frost evil spirit that wandered the coast? That was an evil spirit that had occupied the west coast of San Jose for decades. Many spiritualists had tried to eliminate it, but they all failed. They even hired spiritualists from other places, but to no avail. Whenever they found the victims, they would find their bodies frozen solid. As if they had just floated over from the North Pole. Could it be that the Night of Awakening had attracted the evil spirit here? If that was the case, it would be troublesome. Wherever the ball of cold air passed, a cold wind would blow. The ordinary people below could not see the cold air mass, they only felt that the temperature had suddenly dropped to the freezing point. Frost condensed on the car windows, and the passers-by all huddled together. Nala Miris knew that the evil spirit was originally a person who had frozen to death. Furthermore, after decades of doing evil, not only did it not dissipate, it even grew stronger. Nala Miris was confident that she was the strongest witch in San Jose. But against that frost evil spirit, she wasn't confident. Nala Miris sighed. She had actually attracted this frost evil spirit. It seemed that this awakened was in deep trouble. If they could save him this time, they would. If they couldn't, they could only retreat. Nala Miris didn't want to put herself in danger. Nala Miris continued to move forward, following the frost evil spirit from a distance. The evil frost spirit's movement speed was not fast. It usually hid in the sea and would only surface when it found its target. He reckoned that it wouldn't be able to unleash its full strength on land since it wasn't its home ground. Just then, in the distance of San Jose, an obvious arc of flame swept across the sky. The arc of flame was in the opposite direction of where Nala Miris was, dozens of kilometers away. But the arc of flame was extremely bright and very obvious. That's the burning fire demon of Dongqing Street. Why was it attracted to this place? Is the awakened the second night? Nala Miris's expression changed dramatically. The burning fire demon of Dongqing Street. It wasn't an ordinary burning fire demon, but a monster countless times more terrifying than the burning fire demon. 15 years ago, a fire engulfed a hospital in Dongqing Street. After that, the hospital became the breeding ground of the monster. Dozens of burning fire evil spirits born from the flames attacked and devoured each other. In the end, they formed the burning fire demon. The demon of scorching fire had actually left its lair. Nala Miris's expression was uncertain. Should she still go? If it was the second night of awakening, it was definitely not something she could handle. But Nala Miris was a little curious. She had never seen the second night of awakening. This was also a rare opportunity. Maybe she could watch from afar. Just then, a car suddenly stopped by the side of the road. Two acquaintances got out of the car. One was a short fatty, and the other was a white-haired woman. The two of them were quite famous in San Jose as they were a couple. Of course, their fame wasn't in the spiritual world. There were only a few people in the spiritual world. Everyone saw each other all the time, and everyone knew each other. They were famous among ordinary people. Since the two of them had appeared on TV before, they were considered to be a pretty good couple in San Jose's spiritual world. Of course, they weren't scammers. They had real skills. Miris, did you also go in that direction? The short fatty Oakfield asked. Yes, did you also notice that the Night of Awakening was going in that direction? Nala Miris nodded. We found the evil spirit nest, but just as we were about to eradicate the evil spirit nest, the evil spirits in the evil spirit nest seemed to be rioting. They suddenly rushed out and all headed in that direction. Evil spirit nest. Is it that mysterious evil spirit organization? Nala Miris asked in surprise. In the past year, a piece of news had been circulating in San Jose. Somewhere in San Jose, a group of self-aware evil spirits had gathered and formed an organization. This evil spirit organization had a strict internal structure, and their actions were secretive. Some of the recent supernatural incidents were related to this evil spirit organization. The spiritualists in San Jose were also looking for this evil spirit organization. Yes, Oakfield said. It seems to be affected by the Night of Awakening. Those evil spirits have become extremely crazy. Oakfield's wife, Chromia, had a serious expression. I just got a call from Sesame. She said that she found the souls of the evil beasts heading in that direction. What? Even the souls of the evil beasts were attracted by the Night of Awakening. I've seen the second night once, and it definitely wasn't this influential. It seems that it's not just in San Jose. Even the evil spirits in the surrounding areas are affected. This might be the third night. Nala Miri's expression changed drastically. The third night. Is it really the third night? The legendary third night. Did people really awaken on the third night? Chapter 1596. Is it that hotel? The three arrived at the hotel. Evil spirits had formed a huge whirlpool above the hotel. The whirlpool circled the hotel from top to bottom. They had never seen such a scene before. So scary. Is this the third night? Nala Miri's, Oakfield, and Chromia were all veterans of the battlefield. But now, they didn't dare to approach the hotel at all. It was too scary. It was like the end of the world. The moon was completely covered by dark clouds. Large numbers of evil spirits were also gathering here. So scary. That awakened is dead for sure. They weren't gloating. It was this terrifying scene that caused them to shrink back. If it was the first night, they could still help. The second night wasn't something they could do anything about. But now, they were facing the third night. It was the beginning of despair for anyone. No one would think that the third night was lucky. The third night also represented a 1-in-a-million talent in magic. But first, it had to survive the terrifying calamity of life. That was the most despairing thing. No matter how many times I experience it, I'm shocked every time I see the third night, Gaia exclaimed. Chen Zhao sat on the sofa and put his arm around Seelan's shoulder. Seelan, are you scared? No. Dad, uncle, auntie, and sister Lisa will protect me. Seelan shook her head. Actually, she was still scared, but she still faced it with determination. I didn't think that there would be so many evil spirits in a small city like San Jose. The strength of the Night of Awakening didn't just depend on the Day of Awakening. It also depended on the geographical environment. If there were many evil spirits in a city, the attack on the Night of Awakening would be strong. If there were no evil spirits, the attack would be weak. The Night of Awakening wouldn't create evil spirits out of nowhere to attack the awakened. Of course, each awakened's area of influence on the Night of Awakening was different. For example, when Chen Zhao's daughter Larissa was born, her area of influence wasn't just one city. She was a regional influence. But Seelan clearly didn't have that much influence. To be honest, apart from Ming Elite, everyone was more relaxed. All the employees in the hotel were unconscious. Chen Zhao cast a large banshee's charm. He was mainly afraid that they would cause trouble, and he was also afraid that they would accidentally injure them on the third night. Originally, everyone wanted to go to the suburbs for the third night. However, the risk of the third night was even greater. Yingjili was mainly worried about this. Suddenly, an evil spirit descended from the sky, pouncing straight at Seelan. Chen Zhao reached out and crushed it. The battle began. The vortex formed by the evil spirits in the sky suddenly became intense. A large number of evil spirits fell from the sky. The flaming sword in Gaia's hand spun in a circle, and more than a dozen evil spirits were instantly killed. Jalanash raised her arms and dozens of fireballs rose into the air. In an instant, the dozens of fireballs exploded in mid-air, and at least 30 evil spirits were drawn into them. There's a spiritualist with that awakened. Nala Millis saw a flash on the roof of the hotel. The light from the explosion of the dozens of fireballs was quite eye-catching. He looks like a very powerful elemental magician. It's indeed very powerful, but that spell should have exhausted his mana, right? Look at the sky full of evil spirits. This elemental magician can't change the situation. It shouldn't be hard for this elemental magician to protect himself, but he actually interfered with the third night. I'm afraid he won't be able to escape now. What a pity. Such a powerful spiritualist. Too many. There are too many evil spirits. Immerse shook her head. However, just when they thought that the battle would end quickly, they realized that it was still going on. The evil spirits continued to rush to the rooftop of the hotel. Hey, it seems like the elemental magician isn't dead yet. He's still resisting. Suddenly, hundreds of chains shot into the sky from the roof. The chains were all burning with green flames. Then, each of the chains tied up an evil spirit and dragged it down. Whoosh, the three of them sucked in a breath of cold air. Such a powerful spell. Did you see that? It's too powerful. What spell is that? One spell had killed hundreds of evil spirits in an instant. This method was truly shocking. The three thought that they were elites among spiritualists. But when they saw the spell, they were still shocked. I don't know, but it's clear that there's more than one spiritualist up there. It's definitely not San Jose's spiritualist. San Jose doesn't have such a powerful spiritualist. Plus, everyone basically knows each other's strength and magic. Whoosh, suddenly, a huge vine sprang up from the rooftop. Hundreds of smaller vines extended out from the vine plant, waving about non-stop. The three people before 9 o'clock were shocked again. Amazing. This is plant magic, right? This is the first time I've seen it. Plant magic is this powerful. It's not plant magic that's powerful, but the person who cast it, Clomia said solemnly. It's too powerful. Who's protecting this awakened on the roof? There are actually so many powerful spiritualists protecting him. At this moment, the battle on the rooftop was very intense. Some of the spells were very obvious, and could even be said to be gorgeous. But some spells weren't so obvious. For example, Klaus and the members of the Lightning Squad. Each of them held 2 guns. They were in charge of shooting. In the past, they used bullets soaked in holy water. But now, their bullets were soaked in dragon blood. Their damage to evil spirits was unparalleled. Each of them had their own area to fight in. No one would recklessly enter someone else's territory. But some people's magic range was too large. It was inevitable that they would invade someone else's territory. Morid, your spell stole all the monsters that belonged to me, Giselle complained. I didn't do it on purpose, Morid said disapprovingly. But when Morid saw an elite jumping onto his vine to steal the monsters, he immediately shouted, Morid, you can't steal the monsters so blatantly. These evil spirits are all coming for my daughter. Of course I can, Angelit said matter-of-factly. Harold crossed her legs and sat on the long table. Occasionally, when an evil spirit approached her, she would throw out an evil spirit fang. She wasn't interested in normal evil spirits. She set her sights on those powerful evil spirits. The powerful evil spirits hadn't entered yet, so she wasn't in a hurry to act. Chapter 1597. Most of the evil spirits that were attacking directly were mindless evil spirits. There were also some evil spirits that were not only rational, but also very cunning. Taking advantage of this, they started devouring their own kind. A few terrifying hybrid evil spirits appeared in the sky. That's terrifying. Nala was shocked. Can the spiritualists on the rooftop really deal with evil spirits of this level? The huge hybrid evil spirits in the sky had frighteningly strong auras. Every single one of them had a ferocious and terrifying appearance. There were also a few special evil spirits. They did not participate in the devouring of ordinary evil spirits. However, they were already much more powerful than ordinary evil spirits. For example, the frost evil spirit on the west shore and the fire demon. There were also a few that were above and below them. Suddenly, a huge evil spirit hybrid flashed a few times in the sky. It seemed to be able to teleport short distances. Its main body was an evil spirit with special abilities. Then, it used its special ability to devour many evil spirits. At the moment, it was 5 meters tall and extremely bloated. After a few flashes, it charged at Ceylon. Chen Zhao waved his hand casually and the flashing evil spirit's huge body was smashed through the ground. Boom! Outside the hotel, Nala, Chromia, and Oakfield all heard a loud bang. Then, they saw something pierce through the outer wall of the hotel. Then, it smashed toward them diagonally. Dodge! The three hurriedly jumped away, only to see the thing smash into the car beside them. The car was instantly smashed into scrap metal. There was a huge crater on the concrete floor. When the three returned to their original position, they saw the remains of an evil spirit hybrid. They did not know what kind of attack it had suffered. The shape of its body was almost unrecognizable. All that was left was a mass of filthy spirit mixed with evil aura. The filthy mass no longer had any aura. No matter what it used to be, it was already dead. But from the trajectory of its fall, it was easy to imagine how powerful the attack had been. It had probably been smashed from above on the rooftop. Then it pierced through the ceiling of the rooftop. Then it pierced through the outer wall of the hotel. When it finally fell, it hit their car. A huge crater appeared on the ground due to its impact. It was hard to imagine just how powerful this attack was. At this moment, a huge figure descended from the sky. That huge figure was also a giant hybrid of evil spirits. It landed on the roof of the car, grabbed the filthy substance with its big hands, and swallowed it. Every time it swallowed a mouthful, its body would grow larger and more terrifying. The three of them were still in a state of shock. This evil spirit hybrid was simply too terrifying. When it finished swallowing the filthy matter, its body had already grown to 8 meters. With a terrifying aura around him, he turned his head to look at the three of them. The three of them immediately prepared for battle. Split up! Nala Miris shouted, and the three of them scattered at the same time. They had no intention of fighting such a monster. There was no way he could defeat this evil spirit hybrid. Facing it head-on would only lead to death. Just as they were guessing who this evil spirit hybrid was going to pursue, a voice suddenly rang out. Another loud noise came from behind. Nala Miris turned around and saw a tall figure stepping on the evil spirit's chest. The tall figure held a blazing greatsword in his hand. When the flaming greatsword pierced through the evil spirit hybrid's chest, the evil spirit hybrid roared in a frenzy. But as the flames began to spread on the evil spirit hybrid's body, the evil spirit hybrid's voice began to weaken and finally disappeared. Then, the tall figure spread a pair of red wings and soared into the sky. The three of them watched the figure return to the roof before returning to their original spot. That person is also a spiritualist. Probably. So powerful, I've never seen such a powerful spiritualist. That seems to be a woman. She actually managed to destroy a terrifying hybrid of evil spirits so easily. Where are they from? San Jose? No, even San Francisco doesn't have such a powerful spiritualist. Although I don't know where they are from, their strength is indescribable. They should be members of some powerful organization. There's no lack of monster-like people in this world. What kind of organization can gather so many powerful spiritualists? Moore and Kalon also looked at the direction of the hotel from afar. When Kalon saw the whirlpool of evil spirits dancing in the sky, he was already indescribably shocked. The scene was far beyond his imagination. Moore, can the supernatural organization really protect Ceylon? Don't worry, it's just a small matter. With our president around, it's nothing. Just relax. How could he relax? Colin looked at the sky above the hotel nervously. He really had the urge to join the battle. But Imo was staring at him like a hawk. Moore actually wanted to join the battle too. However, he knew what was important and what was not. His mission was to watch Colin. The third night might not be a problem for the supernatural organization. But now, Chen Zhao was definitely in charge of protecting Ceylon. If Colin joined the battle, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Would he have to split his attention to protect Colin then? At this moment, a bright light rose from the rooftop of the hotel. Even from a few kilometers away, Maul and Colin could clearly see the light. The beam of light suddenly exploded after reaching a height of several hundred meters. It was like the most beautiful fireworks. In an instant, 1/3 of the evil spirits in the sky disappeared. The whirlpool of evil spirits also became much thinner. So powerful. Colin's face was filled with shock. Is that magic? Why does it look like fireworks to me? That should be Jolinash's magic. She's best at group attack spells, Moore said. She's the best at this. Better than the president. No, we never compare ourselves to our president. If we compare ourselves to him in everything, there's no way we can compare ourselves. Moore shrugged helplessly. Colin pursed his lips. Along the way, whenever their president was mentioned, Moore would always have an almost brainless attitude. His president was better at everything. It seemed like his president was better at everything. Chapter 1598. The battle had gone on for more than 3 hours. As the main character, Ceylon was already tired. She kept yawning. Ceylon, if you're tired, go to sleep. Chen Zhao patted her head gently. Ceylon fell asleep on Chen Zhao's lap. Klaus and the lightning team had used up all their ammunition. This was their strongest weapon. Now, they were out of ammunition. They wouldn't force themselves, so they all left the battlefield. They stood beside Chen Zhao and protected Ceylon. Some scattered evil spirits were taken care of with the Dragonbone dagger. They didn't have magic power, but that didn't mean they couldn't fight at all. They were very clear about their position. Their purpose on the battlefield was to exhaust the enemy. If they were at a disadvantage, they would be the team to cover the rear. They were fighting to exhaust the enemy, not to risk their lives. The spiritualists of the association were the main force. Even if Chen Zhao didn't do anything in this battle. But compared to Norma's third night, it was much easier. Everyone still had plenty of magic power. Also, because this was the city, there was no cover. So, they didn't use many spells that were too obvious. For example, Gaia didn't turn into a fire dragon. Helis didn't use Abyss Demon either. It was like Jolinash had used her ultimate move. This ultimate skill looked more like a firework. So, even if someone saw it, they would only think that someone was setting off fireworks. Gaia and Helis should be able to deal with Second Night easily among the current members of the association. If they had to face Third Night alone, it would probably be too difficult. Norma, on the other hand, was relatively weaker, but she was still between Second Night and Third Night. Next were Engelit and Jolinash. They could probably deal with Second Night too. But it would be very difficult. It was mainly a problem of endurance. Engelit was good at quick battles. Jolinash was good at large-scale attacks. They couldn't keep fighting for too long. Then, more and more people left the battlefield. Only Helis, Gaia, Norma, Engelit, and Morid were still fighting. Helis, Gaia, and Norma were still relatively relaxed. None of them had used their true trump cards. because their 3 ultimate moves were too eye-catching. So, they were still holding back. Morid was about to run out of food and ammunition. Enrich was because it concerned his daughter. He didn't want to retreat at this time. Even if he retreated, it had nothing to do with the outcome of the battle. At this time, there were almost no ordinary evil spirits left in the sky. Ordinary evil spirits would either attack in advance and be destroyed. Otherwise, they would be devoured by their own kind. Only a dozen or so evil spirits and a few powerful evil spirits were left. Gaia, Hallis, and Norma stopped. Morid had already retreated. Gaia pulled Enrich back. Enrich, that's enough. Go back and rest. Leave the rest to Chin. Enrich actually wanted to hold on a little longer. However, in his current state, it was indeed very strenuous for him to deal with those powerful fellows. Gaia, Hallis, and Norma didn't want to fight anymore. On one hand, it was a waste of time. On the other hand, he had to deal with those powerful evil spirits. In that case, he had no choice but to use his ultimate move. There was no need for them to expose too much here. It was better to let Chen Zhao clean up the mess. Chen Zhao gently lifted Ceylon's head and let her lean on Giselle's thigh. Chen Zhao walked forward. These spiritualists are really powerful, Nala said in surprise. It's the 3rd night and they can actually last until now. This is the real dangerous moment. Chromie looked at the sky seriously. Why? Haven't most of the evil spirits been destroyed? Ordinary evil spirits have been destroyed or devoured, but the most powerful ones haven't done anything yet. There are also those evil spirit hybrids. They're still devouring each other, Chromie said. Chromia said, and after such a long battle, those spiritualists have probably used up most of their magic power. They're in danger. Are you saying that they'll lose? That's possible, Chromie said seriously. Suddenly, they saw a figure shoot into the sky. But because it was night time, they couldn't see it clearly. The figure touched an evil spirit hybrid. When the figure came into contact with a hybrid of evil spirits, then a second, a third, a fourth, it was too fast. The person didn't even use any dazzling magic. Even the 3 people in the hotel couldn't see the figure's movements clearly. The 3 people below the hotel couldn't even see the figure's movements clearly. Their mouths were wide open, disbelief written all over their faces. The battle ended in an extremely short amount of time. The 3 could only count silently. 1, 2, 3, 4, every time a number was counted, a powerful evil spirit would be destroyed. It was too fast. Even when they faced ordinary evil spirits, it wasn't so easy. But the figure was unbelievably fast. After all, he wasn't facing ordinary evil spirits. Those evil spirits were all powerful ones that could fight 100 alone. The entire process took less than 20 seconds. The battle was over. The figure just floated above the hotel. At this time, there was nothing around him. There wasn't a single evil spirit. How did he do it? What magic did he use? Chromie shook her head. I don't understand at all. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful spiritualist among them. Since he fights at close range every time, he might be an enhancer. But he can fly in the air. Enhancers shouldn't be able to do that, right? I don't know. Every single one of them is terrifyingly powerful. Who knows how they did it? Chromie sighed. Seems like I was too naive in the past. I thought I was strong enough to deal with any situation. Chapter 1599. Although the 3rd night hadn't truly ended yet. But the following battles were no longer a threat. The ones that came were all normal evil spirits. And very few of them. The party continued. To them, the occasional appearance of an evil spirit was also a form of entertainment. Until 1 in the morning, the third night finally ended. Immerse, Chromia, and Oakfield didn't go up. Part of it was because they didn't know each other. Also, they didn't appear during the danger. Now they went to get to know them. What was going on? And they weren't even on the same level. They might not be interested in getting to know them. So after thinking about it, they decided to leave. Compared to their power and professionalism, the three of them were more paranormal enthusiasts. Not long after the three left, Molin and Colin came. As the two were about to go upstairs, Engelit suddenly came down. Molin, why did you bring him? Engelit looked at Molin unhappily. Molin shrugged, we were nearby. I saw that the third night was over, there's no more danger anyway. Colin, go back now, Engelit ordered. Why? Isn't it already over? Colin asked in a dissatisfied tone. What does it have to do with you? I want to see Ceylon, I'm her brother, can't I? Ceylon is safe, you don't need to worry, go home now. Why? Engelit didn't care about Colin's anger. He didn't want Colin to come into contact with the supernatural organization. More accurately, he didn't want Colin to join. There is no why, Engelit said with a cold and unquestionable tone. Colin's eyes flashed, suddenly understanding his father's intentions. I know what you want, Colin said, you just don't want me to join the supernatural organization, right? Yes, trash like you will only be a burden to us if you join the supernatural organization. I don't care, I want to join, Colin said determinedly. Without my permission, you can't join. You can't stop me. No, I can stop you, Engelit said calmly, go back now, don't force me to do it. If you don't let me join the supernatural society, then I'll tell Mom your secret. If you tell your mother, she will stop you, but I won't be affected at all, Engelit said disapprovingly. Even if his wife knew about it, so what? At most, one more person would know about it. But with Aime's personality, she would definitely make the same choice as him. Your current power is not enough to join the supernatural organization. You might have a chance in the future, but if your mother finds out, you'll lose that chance forever. Colin was angry and annoyed, but there was nothing he could do. His father's tyranny made him feel helpless. Only if you teach me magic. Colin chose to back down in the end. However, he still made his request. Since his current strength was not enough. Then, he would train until he was strong enough. If his strength could surpass his father's. At that time, he would no longer have any reason to stop him. Sure, Engelit agreed readily. Since his son had awakened his bloodline, there was no need to stop him from learning magic. Moreover, it wasn't a bad thing for Kellen to become stronger and have the ability to protect himself. More, send him back. I've done what you asked me to do. Do you still want me to pretend? You didn't do what I asked you to do. You let him come here. Fine, fine. Moore's face was full of helplessness. Disappointed, Colin turned to leave. Wait. Engelit suddenly stopped the two of them. Colin's face lit up. Dad, did you change your mind? This is my magic book. Take it and read it. Colin was disappointed again. But with this magic book, he wasn't too disappointed. On the way back, Colin kept flipping through the magic book. Soon, I'll surpass my dad. You're thinking too much. Engelite's super speed spell is very complicated. This is only basic meditation. Mort directly attacked Colin's confidence. Basic. Colin's face fell again. This is to increase your magic power, Moore said. With your current magic power, you probably can't last more than a few seconds if you go all out. You'll need at least half an hour to recover your magic power and stamina. So, you need more magic power to sustain your outburst. Fine. At night, when they got home, Callan was reprimanded by his grandparents. Because Colin brought Moore out to play for the entire night. In their eyes, Moore was a good kid. It was definitely Colin messing around. They didn't know. Actually, it was Moore and Colin messing around. Of course, they were also happy that Moll and Colin were able to enjoy themselves. But after everyone went to rest, Colin pulled Moore again. He wanted Moore to explain the contents of the magic book to him. It's about time to rest, Chen Zhao said. You guys should go rest too. The plane is at 10 tomorrow morning. Don't oversleep. Okay, we'll play a bit more and then go to sleep, Litgrove said. I really envy you young people's energy. Everyone was speechless. Young people. You sound like you're much older than us. Chen Zhao returned to his room early. Of course, he didn't go to sleep. Recently, he'd been too energetic. He only needed to sleep once every few days. But recently, he'd been studying elemental affinity and the world of consciousness. But without anyone to guide him, this path was too difficult. Even now, Chen Zhao still had no clue. Walk a path that no one else had. It was easy to say, but in reality, it was very difficult to do. Even Chen Zhao had to be careful. The effects of the Green Robe Manual could not be said to be non-existent, but the effects were already greatly reduced. Chen Zhao felt that if he relied on the Qingyi Manual, he'd need 1,000 years to break through. It didn't feel good. Chen Zhao felt that he had to create a method suitable for cultivating immortal power. However, creating his own cultivation method was even more difficult for Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao mainly cultivated Taoist methods. If he wanted to create a method, it had to be close to Taoism. But his understanding of Taoism was probably not as good as Fei Lai's. Creating his own cultivation method was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Chapter 1600. Moore, are you leaving today? Colin didn't want him to leave. They'd only spent a day together, but Colin had learned a lot from Moore. No choice, Moore said helplessly. I've already booked the ticket. When are you going back to LA? My dad won't let me take the same flight as you guys. Engeli used an extremely tough attitude to guard against Colin, preventing him from coming into contact with the supernatural organization. Moore said goodbye to Colin's grandparents and his mother. Moore, you're here, West greeted Moore, who'd just arrived. In the departure lounge, everyone gathered in twos and threes. Only Chen Zhao sat on a chair. There was no one within 3 or 4 meters of him. Moore wanted to go up and greet Chen Zhao, but when he got close, he felt an unbearable pressure. Moore immediately backed away. President, what's wrong? He asked in a low voice. Something's wrong. He's probably cultivating some spell. He's like this today, West said. Actually, Chen Zhao had purposely released his aura. That was why it felt so unapproachable. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't have nothing better to do. He wanted to know what it was to be close to the elements. But Chen Zhao had no clue at all. Elemental energy was spiritual qi. Chen Zhao could also feel it. But Chen Zhao didn't understand at all. How was this any different from elves getting close to the elements? Should he ask Lila Gavich later? Chen Zhao remembered that when he'd first met Lila Gavich and Maislan Pool, he'd felt a strange aura from them. That strange aura should be close to the elements. After boarding the plane, the people sitting beside Chen Zhao suffered. For more than an hour, they had to endure the pressure from Chen Zhao's body. More importantly, they weren't acquaintances. They were just passengers on the same flight. After getting off the plane, West came to Chen Zhao's side. "President, you must be tired. Why don't you rest at home for a few days?" What a joke. If Chen Zhao emitted pressure all over like this, he'd be in a mess wherever he went. He'd better go back and harm his wife and children. "Okay, I won't go to the headquarters." Chen Zhao drove back. But when he reached his house, he retracted his aura. Fei Lai was running on the beach. Fei Lai's body was getting better and better. It had been 2 months since the birth. But Fei Lai had already recovered. Little Jerlin and little Larissa played in the shallows with the family of dolphins. "Master, a car has entered Mingyue Villa's territory," the butler said. At the same time, a projection of a supercar appeared on the wall. The driver was Lila Gavich. "Housekeeper, did you hear a female voice?" "Yes, master." "Are you satisfied with this voice?" The butler changed his voice. "Don't you have a slightly more normal voice? Why are they all synthesized sounds?" "Not at the moment, master." "Do you need me to send a service request to the headquarters?" "Let them. The data for me." "Sure. I'll use this female synthesized voice for now." At this time, Lila Gage had already arrived at the gate of Mingyue Villa. Although the Bright Moon Villa did not have a wall or an iron gate, it was still a very dangerous place. However, there were roadblocks. If Chen Zhao or Fei Lai didn't order them to put them down, the cars outside wouldn't be able to enter. Just as Lila was about to press the doorbell, he saw the roadblock sink into the ground. What a nice place. Lila Gage was rather envious of this place. All the good places have been taken by him. Lila Gage was very sensitive to worldly spiritual qi. When he'd left Mirror Lake, he'd already sensed that the worldly spiritual qi there was especially abundant. For anyone, Mirror Lake was already a treasured place. Who would have thought that there would be such a place in such a spacious area? The worldly spiritual qi here was no less abundant than Mirror Lake. Suddenly, Lila Gage's heart skipped a beat. No, he'd passed by this place before. He didn't realize that there was so much worldly spiritual qi here. If there really was such abundant worldly spiritual qi, he definitely would have noticed it. Moreover, such a treasured place couldn't be left empty for Chen Zhao to develop. It was probably already occupied by someone. Had it been modified by someone? He'd heard that there was a capable person in the East who could change the landscape and the aura of feng shui. That person was extremely powerful and he was from China. If he had the ability to do so, it was not incomprehensible. After Lila Gage drove the car into the parking lot, he walked into the mansion. Every time he closed a door, it would open automatically. It seemed that Chen Zhao already knew that he was here. Lila Gage arrived at the front yard. The scenery here was relaxing and joyful. Outside the front yard was the magnificent sea. The sea breeze carried the dense worldly spiritual qi, shocking one's mind. However, what shocked Lila Gage the most was the huge skull of a dragon in the corner of the yard. Although the skull of the dragon head was painted with dye to make it look like a fake, it was actually a fake. But Lila Gavik could still feel the aura from the skull. It was definitely the skull of a real dragon. "Mr. Lila, please sit." Chen Zhao didn't get up. He leaned back in the chair and enjoyed the afternoon sun. "Mr. Chen, sorry to disturb you without telling you. Are you here to take Amanda Didier's flesh?" "Yes." "Mr. Chen, are you ready?" "Yes." Chen Zhao nodded and took out an arm-long container. It contained a piece of Amanda Didier's flesh. Not only was the container sealed, but it was also sealed with magic so that the aura inside wouldn't dissipate. It's yours. Chen Zhao handed the container to Lila Gage. Mr. Chen, this place is really nice, Lila Gage said. Yes, or I wouldn't have bought it. Mr. Chen, you know feng shui, right? No. Chen Zhao glanced at Lila Gage. Thinking about it, he suddenly understood what Lila Gage was thinking. Lila Gage was a dark elf. He was very sensitive to worldly spiritual qi. He might have thought that the abundant worldly spiritual qi in Mingyue Villa was the result of his modification. In fact, the reason why the worldly spiritual qi was so abundant here was because of Old Turtle's internal alchemy. Chen Zhao had placed the internal alchemy in a circular basement under the house. This basement was specially designed to store the internal alchemy. However, the closer they got to the Bright Moon Villa, the more they felt the vast spiritual energy of heaven and earth. This was especially true for the building in front of them, which was surging with spiritual energy. Could there be a natural spiritual vein here? Mana Bloody Mary, who was standing behind 23rd Gen, looked unhappy. The 23rd generation brought his granddaughter to the front yard. Elf. 23rd glanced at R.A. Gavich first. It seemed that she had dealt with elves before and knew who Lila Gavich was at first glance. Elves. He's an elf. Mana pointed at Lila Gavich in surprise. Lila Gavich didn't look like an elf at all. Be it in movies or games, elves were synonymous with elegance, handsomeness, and quick-wittedness. However, Lila Gavich had stubble all over his face and body. He was also smoking a cigar. He didn't look like an elf at all. Lila Gavich felt hurt. He was actually doubted by a little girl. However, he was experienced and had a steady and determined personality. Seeing that the girl was walking with Blood Mary, Lila Gavich was probably her junior. Lila Gavich wouldn't argue with her because of a little girl's offense. Mr. Chen, please forgive me for visiting without notice. The 23rd generation turned to look at Chen Zhao. Mr. 23rd, what can I do for you? Chen Zhao's attitude was still respectful. Chen Zhao didn't like or dislike the 23rd generation. She was just taking advantage of her seniority. However, she did have the right. Of course, the premise was that they wouldn't have a conflict. If they did, or if there was a conflict of interest, Chen Zhao didn't care if they became enemies. Mr. Chen, I want to make a deal with you. Go ahead. Please accept my granddaughter as your student, the 23rd generation said. What do I get in return? Chen Zhao asked. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, Lila Gavich couldn't believe it. Chen Zhao was actually asking for benefits from the 23rd generation. If it were him, he would be willing to accept this mission without any benefits. However, Lila Gavich knew his own limits. He knew that he didn't have the ability. The 23rd generation had come personally to beg Chen Zhao to accept his granddaughter as his student. Mr. Chen, do you know ancient Greek? The 23rd generation had a faint smile. Chen Zhao's face darkened. This old woman was indeed cunning. Of course, she was scheming against him after the spar. Chen Zhao had taken the magic scroll into consideration that he didn't know ancient Greek. Even if he won the scroll, he wouldn't be able to understand the words. Now, he could use this to threaten him. Grandma, I don't need to be his student. He doesn't look as good as Mom. Mana was unhappy. Shut up, the 23rd generation scolded. His granddaughter was talented. But her horizons were too low. If she could live for another 20 years, she might be able to continue her previous path under her guidance. Perhaps the Scarlet Church could prosper in her hands. But she would definitely die in the next 3 years. So, she had to arrange the future of the Scarlet Church as soon as possible. When she'd issued the 98 missions, she'd hoped to form a good relationship with the spiritual world. Her granddaughter also needed someone to guide her. Without a doubt, Chen Zhao was the best choice. Chen Zhao shook his head. I'm still losing out. If she becomes my student, I'll have to worry about her for the rest of her life. But you're only paying with one spell. Plus, I don't really need you to translate ancient Greek. If I really do, I can pay some price and summon an ancient soul from hell who understands ancient Greek. So, you don't have enough bargaining power. The 23rd generation's heart sank. She knew that for someone like Qin Zhao, if he said this, he would probably be able to do it. It sounded unbelievable, but the 23rd generation believed it. This also meant that her bargaining power was worthless. Chapter 1602. This made her feel awkward. She'd brought her granddaughter here confidently. She believed that Qin Zhao would be willing to make the deal. But she'd overestimated her bargaining chip. Grandma, let's go. I don't need him to be my teacher. But she didn't want to give up like this. She knew Qin Zhao much better than her granddaughter. She knew how powerful Qin Zhao was. The most important thing was Qin Zhao's age. Building a good relationship with Qin Zhao was what she cared about the most. Mr. Chen, no matter if you accept Mana as your student or not, I'm willing to translate that magic scroll for you. 23rd Gen's words were very beautiful. Actually, this is my job. Last time you won that magic scroll, I should translate it for you. As she spoke, she took out a translated book and handed it to Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao took the book. He didn't think that she'd be so decisive. But it made sense. Since she knew that her bargaining chip had lost its effect. It was meaningless for her to keep it. She might as well do him a favor. Of course, this favor wasn't important. Thank you, Ms. Blood Mary, for your generosity. You're welcome. She also smiled. Mr. Chen, if you have time, you can go to the Scarlet Church's headquarters in Europe. It'll be an unparalleled honor for the Scarlet Church. Of course. 23rd generation gracefully left with his granddaughter. It was as if she wasn't angered by Qin Zhao's rejection at all. Of course, this was just on the surface. Qin Zhao didn't know if she was angry or not. However, the people of the 23rd generation were experienced. She definitely wouldn't start a feud with Qin Zhao because of this. After all, she didn't have many years left. Starting a feud with Qin Zhao would cost too much. It wasn't something the Scarlet Church could afford. The old woman was still very rational. This wasn't a movie where they were either friends or enemies. Lila Gavich also left. But he wasn't sure. It seemed like she didn't have a good time when she left. Would she turn against Qin Zhao? Qin Zhao might not be afraid of her or the Scarlet Church. But would the 23rd generation think of him as Qin Zhao's partner or friend? He didn't think that he could talk to the Scarlet Church and her equally. Qin Zhao read the translated magic book. Dimensional magic was completely different from most magic. For example, elemental magic was more like a chemical formula. Spatial magic, on the other hand, was even more complicated. It was just like architecture in the magic world. There were two types of alternate dimensions. One was to enter the alternate dimension at any time. The casting of this spatial magic depended on the strength of the caster. The more powerful one was, the larger the area covered by the alternate dimension. Spellcasters could also pull certain people into the alternate dimension based on their preferences. The other method was to build it over a long period of time. In theory, the construction of an alternate dimension could be expanded infinitely. It was similar to the Tower of Trials. But Chen Zhao definitely wasn't as strong as the handsome guy. The 18th floor of the Tower of Trials had an almost infinite amount of space. Moreover, Samuel could easily expand Chen Zhao's spatial ring tens of thousands of times. Of course, if he had enough time, he could even create an entire universe. However, this amount of time was also an astronomical figure. Chen Zhao tried to build his own alternate dimension according to the method on the magic scroll. This alternate dimension completely belonged to Chen Zhao. Unless Chen Zhao allowed it or went through the passage he had prepared, no one could enter. Otherwise, no one could enter. But the alternate dimension couldn't be taken away. It would stay wherever it was built. From a certain perspective, the alternate dimension was similar to Chen Zhao's spatial ring. But the spatial ring could be carried everywhere, while the alternate dimension Chen Zhao built couldn't. Speaking of which, the alternate dimension was similar to space crevices. However, Blackie was born with the ability to open space crevices. This was a talent of his race. Moreover, the space crevices Blackie opened were filled with the aura of death. The alternate dimension construction spell that Chen Zhao was learning didn't have any attributes. Speaking of which, this spell was a bit useless to Chen Zhao. This spell required Chen Zhao to continuously input his power and then slowly build it. Apart from adding a territory that normal people couldn't see, this spell didn't seem to have any other use. Of course, it wasn't completely useless. For example, if Chen Zhao's friends and family were in danger, Chen Zhao could immediately pull them into the alternate dimension. The prerequisite was that they had to be within the range of Chen Zhao's alternate dimension. Of course, Chen Zhao could also use the first method, which was to open an alternate dimension at any time. However, this kind of alternate dimension was complicated to cast and required a certain amount of time. It couldn't be opened instantly. If Chen Zhao and his friends and family had a nuclear bomb that would explode in a few minutes, then Chen Zhao could easily open the alternate dimension and let his friends and family hide inside. But if it was going to explode in a second, then Chen Zhao couldn't do anything. So, this alternate dimension spell couldn't be used in actual battles. But if it was going to explode in a second, then Chen Zhao couldn't do anything. But Chen Zhao could build the alternate dimension and use it as a warehouse. Spatial rings were convenient, but they weren't limitless. Samuel had helped Chen Zhao expand the spatial ring in order to store the gift he'd given Chen Zhao, the castle. If Chen Zhao spent some time, he could build a super large alternate dimension and put some miscellaneous items inside. After thinking for a while, Chen Zhao made a decision. He could build a fixed alternate dimension in Mingyue Villa and store the entire villa inside. Once Mingyue Villa was in danger, he could store it in the alternate dimension to prevent it from being destroyed. Also, the supernatural organization's headquarters could create an alternate dimension. But Chen Zhao had to finish it at home first. Anyway, it was a huge project. It couldn't be completed in a day. Then, Chen Zhao thought of the river map. But the river map was much more advanced than the alternate dimension and the Tower of Trials. Not only did the river map involve space, but it also involved time. Chen Zhao had come into contact with many spatial spells. However, Chen Zhao had never seen or heard of a spell that involved time magic. There were some pseudo-time spells, such as West's Slow Field. It was a pseudo-time spell. But West's Slow Field didn't actually work on time. It worked on objects. If West could really control time, then Chen Zhao wouldn't be the strongest person in the organization. It should be West. Chapter 1603. The construction should be an alternate dimension. It sounded cool. It was supposed to be a new world. Actually, it wasn't like that at all. As long as there was enough power, magic or immortal power would have the same effect. Of course, immortal power contained more energy, so it would be faster to build an alternate dimension. There was no such thing as making rules, and there was no such thing as creation. It was like throwing a bucket into a lake and then pouring the water into one's own swimming pool. The lake here referred to nothingness. Nothingness was boundless, as vast as the universe. During the construction process, Chen Zhao had to leave behind some secret doors. These doors could let the spiritual qi of the world enter the alternate dimension and maintain its stability. If there were no secret doors, Chen Zhao would have to maintain the alternate dimension with his own power. Chen Zhao didn't have that much power to maintain an alternate dimension all the time. Secret doors could also let people enter the alternate dimension unknowingly. But as long as he hid the secret doors intentionally, he could almost prevent people from entering the alternate dimension. The secret door could be hidden anywhere, even underground. Unless it was in existence at the level of the handsome young man, it was impossible for anyone to break into the alternate space under normal circumstances. Of course, Chen Zhao also prepared a secret door dozens of meters in the air. This could let air enter the alternate dimension too. Chen Zhao didn't want to create a world without air. What he wanted was an alternate dimension that could at least satisfy basic survival needs. Or rather, it was a temporary shelter. Chen Zhao used an hour to create a space that was more than 100 square meters. It had to be said that it was a long and tedious task. With Chen Zhao's abilities, he would even need endless time to create a world the size of Earth, let alone a universe. 23rd Gen and Mana Bloody Mary got out of the car. Just then, a Chinese woman walked up to them. "Ms. Bloody Mary, can I have 10 minutes of your time?" Li Mu looked at the old woman. To be honest, she was still in disbelief when she found out about 23rd Gen. After all, he was a person who had lived for 149 years. Even in today's technologically advanced era, it was still unimaginable. "Sorry," 23rd Gen said calmly. "I don't like talking to strangers. If you have any requests, please tell my assistant." With her status, too many people wanted to get close to her. Too many people wanted to get close to her. If the opponent was at Chen Zhao's level, 23rd Gen was more than happy to communicate with him. As for the others, the 23rd generation wasn't interested at all. "Ms. Blood Mary, I'm here to communicate with you on behalf of the United States Anti-Terrorism Security Department, Mr. Mansari. If I want to communicate, I will only communicate with your president, not a security minister. Madam Blood Mary, I'm not here to discuss politics with you. I'm here to discuss the supernatural world," Li Mu said quickly. Actually, the Anti-Terrorism Security Department has also formed a supernatural team. "Oh, is there anything you can teach me?" 23rd Gen turned his head slightly and looked at Li Mu indifferently. "Or do you think that my activities in the United States will affect your supernatural safety?" "No, of course that's not what I meant. In fact, it's our minister who wants to cooperate and communicate with the Scarlet Church." "Exchange? How? Does your team have the right to communicate with the Scarlet Church?" "Then, Lady Blood Mary, what qualifications do you think we need to communicate with you and the Scarlet Church?" "Complete 3 of my missions. As long as you can complete 3 missions, I will give you a chance." 23rd Gen turned around and entered the hotel. 23rd Gen's phone suddenly rang. "Hello, old friend. How many years has it been since you last called me?" "Dear Ms. Tammy, I heard that you've been messing around recently." "Do you think I'm messing around?" "Little guy. Do you know what happened in Japan?" "Japan? What happened?" "The Stone of Slaughter was originally sealed. Although there have been some changes in recent years, the Stone of Slaughter won't break the seal immediately. However, because of your missions, many spiritualists went to the sealed area. In the end, they couldn't repair the seal. Instead, they were poisoned by the miasma of the Stone of Slaughter. Their souls were also devoured by the Stone of Slaughter. Now, the crack in the seal has expanded 10 times. The area where the sealed area is located has already been covered by the miasma. Now, the seal is really in danger of being broken. What? 23rd Gen was shocked. Now, the Japanese Supernatural General Council is staying in our Dragon Tiger Mountain Palace. They won't leave. They want me to go to Japan. Limu looked at 23rd Gen's back with a bitter smile. Since he had already said so much, she couldn't pester the 23rd generation anymore. When she was talking to 23rd Gen just now, she had to be very careful. She didn't dare to offend him or neglect him. Otherwise, it might turn into a diplomatic incident. She and her boss, Mansari, couldn't bear the responsibility. Neither of them could bear this kind of responsibility. Hey, boss. How is it? What's the lady's answer? She said that unless our team can complete at least 3 Scarlet missions, we don't have the right to talk to her on equal terms. Can you evaluate whether our team can complete 3 Scarlet missions? Boss, it's still too difficult for those people to complete the Scarlet missions. You're in charge of selecting and see if there are any missions that can be completed, Mansari said. Our team has been established for a while now. They've been performing the missions well. Now, it's time for them to face the real test. Boss, I'm afraid that's too difficult. Limu's expression was serious. She had been in contact with some of the members of the newly formed team and recruited them into the team. It wasn't that the team was weak, but Limu felt that it was still lacking something. It was still too difficult for them to carry out the Scarlet missions at this time. Those people are all arrogant. If they really have the ability to complete the Scarlet missions, then I'll allow them to be arrogant and rude. If they can't even complete the Scarlet missions, then it'll give me a chance to reorganize the team. Alright then. I'll talk to Vestana. Limu and Vestana were Mansari's right-hand men. Vestana was the person in charge of the team, and she reported directly to Mansari. Chapter 1604. Boss is too impatient. Vestana smiled bitterly. Many people in the team have potential, but it's not time for them to face the real test yet. Vestana wasn't a spiritualist, but she was in charge of the team. The more spiritualists she interacted with, the more paranormal events she encountered. The more information she had. Thus, Vestana gradually gained an understanding of spiritualists' abilities. Especially since she'd seen a truly powerful spiritualist. Back in the Great Pagoda Snow Mountain. That terrifying demon Kunkka. And that man even scarier than Kunkka. For Vestana, the experience was too deep for her to bear. Now, the team she was in charge of. The purpose of their existence was to replace the supernatural organization led by Qinzhao. The best way to replace the supernatural organization was to defeat them. But Vestana knew that it was impossible. Mansari also knew that it was impossible. So, Mansari made a new request. She didn't need to defeat Qinzhao and the supernatural organization led by him. At least, she had to be able to solve most missions. In fact, North America was a region with low supernatural events. The chances of supernatural events happening here weren't high either. Most of the incidents were ordinary supernatural incidents. For example, Kunkka's unsealing on the Great Pagoda Snow Mountain might not happen once in 100 years. So, she basically didn't need to worry about those super major events. Then, in the vast majority of paranormal incidents, Vestana's team could solve them before the supernatural organization. Then, the supernatural organization would gradually be marginalized. Eventually, it would be replaced by her team. An organization that didn't do anything would eventually be disbanded. This was Mansari's plan too. Since she couldn't break up or control the supernatural organization forcefully, then she would boil them in warm water. Gradually, the supernatural organization wouldn't have any presence. Of course, Mansari wasn't the only one who knew about this plan. Only Limu and Vastana knew about this plan. When humans fought among themselves, they would always display shocking talent. Vastana picked up the phone and dialed a number. Brits, gather all the members of the psionic team. We have a mission. Miss Vastana, are you talking about everyone? Yes, everyone, Vastana said with certainty. Half an hour later, all the team members had gathered. As a subordinate team of the Anti-Terrorism Security Department, the psionic team had always been trained according to the military style in terms of discipline. Even the most rebellious members of the psionic ability team would obey the rules. This was something the supernatural organization couldn't compare to. Comparing the two organizations, the supernatural organization was more like an amateur team. Of course, discipline did not represent strength. Brits was the vice captain of the psionic team. Miss Vastana, 23 members of the psionic squad have assembled. Blitz was the strongest in the team. He also had a nickname, Little Encyclopedia of Magic. He had some understanding and contact with almost every major magic system. From Eastern Taoist magic to African voodoo, European magic, and shaman magic, he had come into contact with them all. According to statistics, he knew thousands of spells. And he could use different combat methods and magic according to different enemies. Vastana nodded. Thank you. Vastana stood up from her seat and glanced at the psionic team members in the meeting hall. The leader has ordered for the psionic squad to complete 3 Scarlet missions. Brits looked surprised. As for the others in the meeting hall, some were surprised, while others were happy. Some were worried, while others were excited. Miss Vastana, isn't this too much? Brits asked. What's so difficult about it? I think this is more in line with our position. The person who spoke was called Tank. He was the only strengthening spiritualist in the team. Tank was hot-tempered and easily angered. Especially when he used magic to fight. He was especially easy to lose control. He was always on a rampage on the battlefield. And most of the time, he caused a certain amount of public damage. Of course, his battle record was also very outstanding. Don't forget, the last time our psionic team participated in the encirclement of Turin, the result was not satisfactory. That's because Turin escaped. We didn't have time to do anything, and Turin actually left Arma Island early, Tank said. If Turin didn't leave early, I would have smashed Turin into pieces and made it stay in Arma Island's waters forever. Then why didn't you rush to the port early? Because I was entangled, Tank said. Hee hee. Brits sneered and didn't argue with Tank anymore. In Brits' eyes, Tank was a simple-minded idiot with well-developed limbs. Bang! Tank slammed the table and stood up. What do you mean by that laugh? Whatever you think it means. Are you laughing at me? Tank shouted angrily. I want to duel you. Enough, I didn't call you here for you to argue, Vastana scolded. Shut up, both of you, Brits. Brits returned to his seat. Tank grunted and sat back down as well. You can't refuse this mission. Of course, I know it's a bit difficult, but I hope you can do your best to complete it, Vastana said. Miss Vastana, don't worry and leave the mission to me. I'll bring you good news, Tank said. Idiot, Brits snorted. What did you say? Enough. Just as Tank was about to lose his temper again, Vastana interrupted their argument. Let's discuss among ourselves and see which Scarlet missions our party has the chance to complete. Then we'll pick them. It doesn't matter what mission it is. I'll use my iron fist to make those filthy monsters understand that this is the human world, and they should go back to the sewers or hell. Brits glanced at Tank and stood up again. There aren't many missions suitable for our team, and they're all quite difficult. I know it's difficult. That's why I hope you guys can do your best. Vestana sighed inwardly. She knew what Mansari was thinking. Mansari probably didn't have much hope for this mission. Maybe he just wanted the troublemakers in the psionic team to die. That way, Mansari could easily control the psionic team. Actually, a detailed plan can increase our chances of winning. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens Godly Emperor Mobile Version. Chapter 1605. Moore, I'm here. Colon waved his hand. Moore saw Colan's figure from afar and strode towards him. Colon, when did you come back to Los Angeles? Just arrived today, Colon said. Although they were a few years apart in age. But in fact, Colon, who was older, was more like an elder. Of course, seniority wasn't important in the association. Plus, Moore was a casual person. She felt like she could talk to Colon. So, she kept in touch with Colon in private. It's my treat tonight, Moore said. Colon looked at the golden credit card in Moore's hand. He was really envious. He wanted to say straightforwardly that it was his treat. But he didn't have enough money, so he couldn't ask. He was a few years older than Moore, but Moore was already self-supporting. But other than doing some temporary jobs, he still needed to ask his parents for money. And Moore was already earning a lot. Even if he finished school in the future, his salary might not be higher than Moore's. Most importantly, Moore's life was very different from his. In Colin's imagination, Moore's life was colorful. Right, I have a mission tonight. Do you want to come? Moore asked. Is that okay? Colon hesitated. He was worried about the danger. Of course, he was also worried that he would be a burden to Moore. Don't worry, it's just a small mission, Moore said with a smile. It's an abandoned church in West Street. There's an evil spirit there. It's not difficult. If there's a chance, I can give you a chance to fight. Can I? Colon had no confidence. Don't worry, no problem. Right, this is for you. Moore tossed a dagger to Colon. Colon took the dagger and looked at it. My dad seems to have one too. This is made of dragon bone, but your dad's is a refined magic tool. Yours is only engraved with some inscriptions. It's many times weaker. I see. Colon curled his lips, a bit disappointed. Don't mind it. This dragon bone dagger can probably be sold for tens of thousands of dollars in a magic shop. So expensive. Colan's eyes widened in disbelief. It's expensive, but don't you dare sell it. Otherwise, if the people from the association find out that I'm selling something from the association, I'll be in big trouble. Then I'd better not. I don't want to hurt you. Colon was a very loyal person. When he heard that would be punished for this, he was worried about this and that. It's fine, as long as you don't sell it for money. Of course, you're not allowed to use the dragon venomous dagger against ordinary people. The damage the dragon bone dagger does to ordinary people will be easily recognized. Oh, I know. Are you sure it's okay? It's fine. Our association has a lot of things to do with the dragon bone dagger. We can even use it as a consumable item. Then why don't you sell it? Of course it's to maintain the market price. Moer said matter-of-factly, if something is overflowing in the market, do you think the price will be high? A refined dragon bone dagger is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Isn't that more profitable than the ordinary dragon bone dagger in your hand? Can't we sell both at the same time? Kalan said. However, Moore shook his head and said, if we sell both at the same time, then everyone will only buy the normal version. Then, we can find an alchemist to craft the refined version of the dragonbone dagger. This is definitely cheaper than buying the refined version. To put it bluntly, the association needed to maintain the high price of the dragonbone dagger to protect its own interests. Of course, the members of the association could use it however they wanted. After all, there were plenty of dragon bones in the association. But they couldn't harm the association's interests. No organization would allow a traitor to betray their own people. That was why Moer warned Kalan. Moer brought Kalan to an abandoned church. There weren't many people living in this area. Standing in front of the church, Kalan felt the desolation and eerie aura of the church. The church should be God's sanctuary, right? Why did it become like this? Something bad must have happened here, causing the Holy Spirits to abandon this place. No longer shrouded in holy light, it became even more impure than other places, Moer said. In the end, this place became the nest of the impure. Moer, didn't you say this was just a normal mission to exorcise evil spirits? Yeah, it's very normal. No matter how I look at it, the evil spirits that live here don't look like ordinary evil spirits. The evil spirits here are actually a priest who accidentally flipped through the demonic scriptures. Then, they summoned evil spirits from hell and ate all the nuns in the church. Hearing this, Kalan couldn't help but shudder. What are you afraid of? I don't need you to face them head-on. Just stand beside me. As Moer spoke, he created a clone and entered the abandoned church. After Moer's clone entered the church, he saw all kinds of strange phenomena. Every time before these evil spirits attacked, they would use illusions to harass them. However, these illusions were effective against ordinary people, but not against spiritualists. Moreover, it was Moer's clone in front of him. So, in the end, he still had to fight fair and square. This sinister spirit priest had a ferocious face. Under his black robe were the sad faces of the nuns. They wailed in unison. When ordinary people heard this sound, they would either go crazy or break down. Moer's clone held the dragon bone dagger and stabbed the sinister spirit priest. If it was an ordinary evil spirit, the dragon bone dagger would have shattered his soul on the spot. However, the sinister spirit priest in front of him just flew back. The soul of a nun was thrown out and dissipated. It was Moer's first time fighting such an opponent. This sinister spirit priest used the nun's soul as a substitute. Moer didn't have any scruples. He could free the nun's soul by doing this. After losing a nun's soul, the sinister spirit priest immediately opened his mouth. Like a black hole, he began to suck in large mouthfuls of air. The surrounding airflow quickly flowed into the sinister spirit priest's mouth. Moer's clone couldn't stay in place. Moer's clone had a thought. He didn't waste time and directly self-destructed. Boom! With a loud bang, half of the abandoned church was destroyed. The nun's soul on the sinister spirit priest's body dissipated, and his body was badly damaged. The sinister spirit priest rushed out of the house like a madman. Kalan saw the sinister spirit priest rushing over and couldn't help but feel nervous. Just one look at that terrifying evil creature was enough to make one's blood run cold. You? Or me? Moer asked casually. However, if it was consumed over a long period of time, the effects would be extraordinary. Take Adus for example. He was an ordinary person among ordinary people, and he was so old. Adus had eaten too much meat from magical creatures. He didn't have to rely on any equipment to see the evil spirits. Adus said he was a normal person, and he already had some abilities that normal people didn't have. As for saying that he was not an ordinary person, he did not have magic power. To be precise, Adus still had 1 point of mana points. Not to mention the combat power of the association. What resources? Mower shook his head. You're not from the association. I can't tell you. Alright then. Kalon was already used to this. In the past 2 or 3 days, he often called Engelit. Engelit always used this to brush him off. He did not know if Engelit did not want to tell him or if the association really had rules. But Kellen already felt that the supernatural organization was an organization with extremely strict rules. That night, Kellen and Mower asked for magic again and sparred occasionally. However, Mower did not want to waste the night with Kellen. After midnight, he left Kellen and slipped away. Kellen continued to practice on the beach. Mull had left behind a message that Kalon remembered in his heart. That was to practice diligently. In the association, from the president to the ordinary members, everyone practiced magic when they had nothing to do. Or they studied their battle techniques. Kellen felt that he wanted to defeat his father. In that case, hard training was indispensable. Mr. Chin, are you planning to rebuild the original villa or do you need to design a new building? Felwood asked. Redesign. I hope that the design will be sturdier this time. Even if there's a hurricane like last time, it will be unscathed. The project budget is $20 million. Okay, I understand. Felwood was overjoyed. He had thought that this project was just a favor and that it would be enough to charge Qin Zhao some cost. He did not expect Qin Zhao to give him another big project budget. Although $20 million was not Qin Zhao's biggest project budget, it was still very big. But for Felwood Cisco, it was already very big. You know where Mirror Lake is? Go measure it yourself and send me the design. Okay, Mr. Chin. What style do you want? Same old, modern style, Qin Zhao said. Oh, open a semi-enclosed field in the forest. What's the specific function of the field? Felwood asked. A place for training and shooting, Qin Zhao said. Many of my friends are members of the shooting club. Okay, I'll hire an architect to design the field too, Felwood said. Okay, that's all for now. Oh, I remember. I need to widen and deepen the outer river of Mirror Lake. I ordered a yacht recently. Right now, the depth and width of the outer river are not suitable for super yachts. Also, I need a dock. I don't want it to be like the old Mirror Lake where the yacht could only stay in the middle of the lake. Yes, I understand. That's all for now, Qin Zhao said. Okay. If Mr. Qin has any other requests, you can contact me anytime. After hanging up, Qin Zhao suddenly stopped in his tracks. He turned his head and looked behind him on the sidewalk. A familiar figure was following him. That guy again. Kalon saw Qin Zhao in front of him stop and look at him. He was slightly shocked. He found me again. When Kellen had seen Qin Zhao just now, he had been extremely happy. He felt that he could definitely take revenge this time. Chapter 1607. Kalon saw the man smile at him and then turned to leave. Kalon was all too familiar with that smile. He'd seen it twice already. This was the third time. Kalon quickened his pace and chased after him. Colin saw Chen Zhao turn into an alley. Colin followed at once. But as soon as he turned the corner, a punch greeted him. Wah! Colin clutched his stomach and fell to the ground. You're so despicable, Chen Zhao glanced at Colin. Who has time to waste with you? You always come to provoke me. I'm already merciful enough not to cripple you. With that, Chen Zhao swaggered away. Colin was filled with grief and indignation. He thought that now that he'd improved greatly, he could definitely take revenge on Chen Zhao. So, when he saw Chen Zhao again, he was overjoyed. But in the end, he'd been tricked. He hadn't even used his ultimate move and was tricked. Colin was furious. He was clearly stronger, but why couldn't he beat Chen Zhao? Chen Zhao didn't care about Colin's frustration. He'd come to Alex's law firm to take a look. Alex had moved her law firm to Los Angeles. Chen Zhao made a few calls and confirmed the address. Then, he walked around the area. Finally, he found Alex's law firm. Chen Zhao entered Alex's office. It's really hard to find here. Chen Zhao looked at Alex's office. It wasn't very big. But it was in a good location. This area was a financial district, surrounded by tall buildings. But after Alex moved in, it seemed to be the same as before and hadn't been renovated. Why don't you renovate? Your law firm is a famous one in San Francisco. Now that you're in Los Angeles, it'll affect your firm's reputation. If you can pay me more, I'll be happy to renovate, Alex said, unconcerned. I have to pay your law firm at least $5 million a year, and you're telling me you don't have the money to renovate. It's not a one-off payment. Plus, the real profit of $5 million is less than $2 million. Alex pretended to be poor before Chen Zhao, but Chen Zhao didn't believe a single word. If you are really short of money, I can lend it to you. Chen Zhao would never say something like, I'm sponsoring you. With Alex's personality, even if it was just a polite greeting, she would take advantage of it. No need. If you really want to help me, then sponsor me. As expected, Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Shall we go out for lunch? Let's go to your restaurant. I heard that it's really expensive. Alex looked at him brightly. Even if he couldn't scam Chen Zhao out of money, he could at least scam him out of a meal. Fine. Chen Zhao shrugged. Seriously, do you really need money? Do you know how much a year's rent for this 1,000 square meter floor is? I'm starting to regret listening to you and moving the business to Los Angeles. Chen Zhao was stunned. Then he remembered. Alex moved her law firm to Los Angeles. Then her old contacts, clients, and business in San Francisco would be gone. Apart from the business he had given her, she was basically penniless in Los Angeles. All her connections, clients, and business had to start all over again. Chen Zhao wrote a check and handed it to Alex. I'm borrowing it. To start her business again, she would need a lot of money. Alex probably didn't lack money. She just didn't want to use it on renovation. But without a beautiful facade, what would clients think? It was fine if it was an ordinary customer. But rich clients wouldn't give their business to Alex's law firm if they didn't have a good first impression. Alex glanced at the number on the check. When are you returning it? Up to you. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Suddenly, Alex tightened her collar. You're not trying to do something to me, are you? Give me back the check, Chen Zhao said with a dark expression. Okay, I'm free today. I'll get off work early. Let's go to your restaurant. You're the boss. Why are you pretending to get off work? Alex and Chen Zhao went to Marina's restaurant. She was a bit jealous of Chen Zhao's restaurant. She told Chen Zhao many times to remember her if he needed investments. Marina's business was really good. It was noon and the restaurant was almost full. At night, there were more than 100 people waiting in line. The restaurant served the nameless wine every day. It was limited, though. Ever since Chen Zhao got all the shares of Marina's restaurant, he provided the nameless wine and some special ingredients to Marina's restaurant. This caused Marina's business to be even better than before. Marina's restaurant's daily turnover could reach $1 million. Sometimes, it was a few $100,000. Last month, it had reached $18 million. Just the restaurant's net income alone was tens of millions of dollars. No one would doubt that Marina's restaurant was the most profitable restaurant in LA. Also, Steven often came here too. He would do live promotions for Chen Zhao's restaurant. There were also many celebrities who came to Marina's restaurant to spend money every few days just to have a chance encounter with Steven. Of course, most of the customers were attracted by the recipes and wine provided by Marina Restaurant. To be honest, Marina's restaurant's income was comparable to a mid-sized company. The two of them sat by the window. Alex didn't know how to save money for Chen Zhao at all. A table of dishes would probably cost tens of thousands of dollars. Chen Zhao had never been so extravagant. "Chen, doesn't your restaurant have a Michelin rating?" "Yes," Chen Zhao said nonchalantly. A while ago, the Michelin guide wanted to give Marina's restaurant a 1-star rating, but I didn't accept it. "Why? Do I need a tire seller to judge my restaurant? Plus, I'm only a 1-star. I don't care. The Michelin guide never gives a new restaurant a 3-star rating. It's always upgraded 1 star at a time. That's why I don't need it," Chen Zhao said calmly. "My restaurant's business is already good enough," Chen Zhao said calmly. "Even if I have a Michelin star rating, it won't bring me more income. Why should I care about that tire seller's attitude?" The Michelin star rating was just a Western standard. If the tire seller could really bring him income, Chen Zhao wouldn't mind putting a Michelin star in his restaurant. But with Marina's restaurant's current business, he had to increase his income. The only way was to increase the price and not the Michelin star rating. Moreover, a 1-star rating might lower his business. Chapter 1608. Alex and Chen Zhao walked out of the restaurant. "Speaking of which, do you want an IOU?" Alex glanced at Chen Zhao. "If it's just a check, I have 10,000 ways to go back on my word. The money on the check is Jerlin's dowry. Can you bear to take it?" Shameless. Alex glared at Chen Zhao. She was Chen Zhao's and the brewery's legal advisor. She'd clearly seen the brewery's accounts and Chen Zhao's bank account details. She knew very well how much Chen Zhao earned each month. The money he'd lent her was only 1/20th of his monthly income. She knew too well how much Chen Zhao could earn. Even most of the world's top 500 might not be more profitable than Chen Zhao. Even Chen Zhao's net worth was just below the top 500. But Chen Zhao's net worth was real. Many of the world's tycoons built their wealth by piling up their stocks. When the stocks of their companies performed well in the stock market, their net worth would be high. If their stocks performed poorly in the stock market, their net worth would be low. It was common for billions of yuan to evaporate at the drop of a hat. But Chen Zhao was different. His income was like a money printing machine. Unless the dollar depreciated, Chen Zhao wouldn't lose money at all. Alex even encouraged Chen Zhao to list their beer brand so that she could earn a fortune in the stock market. But she knew that Chen Zhao wouldn't agree. For Chen Zhao, if Dashan beer went on the market, then his virtual net worth would skyrocket, perhaps by several times. But in the long run, Chen Zhao would suffer a huge loss. Why did those rich people who made a fortune in the stock market and property market like to invest in real estate? Because real estate represented stable value. Chen Zhao held absolute shares of Dashan Beer. It was a super high-quality fixed asset. The people who sold it were also people who had actual benefits with Chen Zhao. If he listed it, he could indeed earn a fortune. But he would lose the stable long-term dividends. If there was a financial crisis or a stock market crash, it wouldn't affect Chen Zhao. This was the greatest value of real estate. Stability. The two of them walked on the street, chatting about all sorts of things. Just then, a woman walked toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao paused, and so did the woman. The woman glanced at Alex beside Chen Zhao. Then, he brushed past Chen Zhao without saying anything. Chen, I have to remind you that you have a family. What are you thinking? Don't fill in the blanks yourself, okay? Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. You dare say that you have nothing to do with that woman? It's related to Jerlin and Fei Lai's previous relationship, Chen Zhao said calmly. Oh, is it your ex-girlfriend in China? Alex asked. Fei Lai told you about this? Chen Zhao was surprised. Alex had been to the Bright Moon Villa twice. The first time, he followed Chen Zhao stubbornly. The other one was little Jerlin's birthday party. No, Jerlin told me, Alex said. He really didn't expect to meet his first love here. To be honest, Chen Zhao really had nothing to do with her. If he hadn't suddenly met her on the main road today. Chen Zhao's only impression of her was probably her name. As for feelings. Bullshit feelings. Time had long since diluted those feelings. When they broke up, it felt like the world was collapsing and the world was ending. But that feeling only lasted for 2 or 3 days. Then it mostly recovered. Not just her. Even if Jerlin was revived and stood before Chen Zhao, Chen Zhao couldn't get back together with Jerlin. As your ex-girlfriend, you don't know she's in LA. We haven't contacted each other for 2 years. Why would I know? You really have nothing to do with her. You don't have the right to ask me that, right? Fei Lai's the one asking me, not you, Chen Zhao said nonchalantly. Chen Zhao said casually. Chen Zhao's casualness. Chen Zhao's casualness. Indeed, it had nothing to do with their past relationship. After all, when Chen Zhao saw the woman, he'd been surprised at the beginning. Then, his attitude and personality hadn't changed. It was enough to show that Chen Zhao had let go of her long ago. Sun Min looked back at Chen Zhao's back. She also didn't expect to meet Chen Zhao here. She'd heard that Chen Zhao had left the country. But she didn't expect him to be in LA. In 2 years, Chen Zhao seemed to have changed a lot. Just like Chen Zhao, Sun Min didn't have any feelings for him anymore. Sun Min and Chen Zhao's breakup was a bit utilitarian. But at least the two parted on good terms. Neither of them made a big fuss. Sun Min was also glad that she'd broken up with Chen Zhao. After all, her career had improved by leaps and bounds after that. Sun Min's trip to America was like a business trip. This time, she was here to visit the most luxurious place in the world, Beverly Hills. But after this trip, the luxury stores along the streets of Beverly Hills didn't seem like much. They weren't livelier or more upscale than the other places she'd been to. These kinds of famous brands and luxury stores could be found everywhere in the world. Sun Min was somewhat disappointed. But Sun Min hadn't been to the truly luxurious places in Beverly Hills. They were the manors that the rich lived in. The manors and villas of the rich were the places where poverty truly limited one's imagination. The current Sun Min could be considered an elite at most. She didn't even have the chance to see the real faces of those luxurious manors. For example, Chen Zhao's Mingyue Villa was in Beverly Hills. Many manors were located in locations that weren't worse than Mingyue Villa. 1/10 of the world's super yachts were gathered in Beverly Hills. Just thinking about this ratio, one would know how many rich people there were in Beverly Hills. Sun Min visited a few luxury stores. After buying a few things, she lost interest. The prices here weren't cheaper than other places. The customers here weren't necessarily richer than other places either. In fact, the customers who came to these luxury stores were mostly tourists from other places. Most of them were like Sun Min, tourists from other places. Sun Min's heart jumped. She took out her phone and looked through it. Since she'd met Chen Zhao, she might as well ask him out for a meal. But after a long time, she couldn't find Chen Zhao's number. Sun Min pursed her lips. She seemed to have deleted his number long ago. Oh, there was also the X group. Let's see if he's still there. She looked through the chats of her classmates but couldn't find Chen Zhao's message. Chen Zhao's account was still in the group, but he seemed to have stopped spamming. Chapter 1609. In fact, this student group was basically abandoned. He hadn't received a single message in a few days. Sun Min even wondered if Chen Zhao still needed to use X. After all, Chen Zhao had been abroad for 2 years. Sun Min tried to send a message. Does anyone know how to contact him? After a few minutes, a private message popped up. Sun Min opened it and saw that it was Professor Li, who taught neurosurgery. Son, you want Chen Zhao's contact information. I remember you guys broke up, right? Yeah, we broke up a long time ago. After a while, Ms. Li replied, do you know that Chen Zhao has been abroad for 2 years? I know. I just wanted to contact him all of a sudden, Sun Min replied. I see. He did give me his number after he left the country, and he's called me a few times in the past 2 years. Mr. Li was also the only person in China that Chen Zhao had given him his phone number. After all, he was Chen Zhao's mentor and had taken good care of him in school. Chen Zhao was in the worst period of his life. Teacher Li had also called him to comfort him. So, after Chen Zhao went abroad, he would still think of him. During festivals, Chen Zhao would call her or send her a message to congratulate her. Teacher Li, can you give me his phone number if it's convenient? Why do you need his contact information? I still have some of his things here. I plan to send them to him. Teacher Li thought for a moment. All right. Actually, other students had asked for Chen Zhao's contact information before. However, most of the time, those students were just there to prepare for the recording. Or maybe he could have a class reunion to show off. Ms. Li didn't give him anything. Chen Zhao wouldn't go back to China for the reunion anyway. Professor Li also heard that Chen Zhao was doing well abroad. At least he was doing better than most of his students. Therefore, the students who flaunted their wealth basically had no advantage over Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao didn't say much about his situation abroad. However, Ms. Li could tell that Chen Zhao's family and career were both pretty good. I heard that his second daughter was born recently. He also had a picture of Chen Zhao's 2 daughters. Now, Sun Min wanted his number. Ms. Li knew that Sun Min was Chen Zhao's ex-girlfriend. However, he didn't think that Sun Min and Chen Zhao would get back together. That was why he decided to give him Chen Zhao's contact number. Ms. Li then sent Chen Zhao's overseas phone number to Sun Min. Sun Min, he's the father of 2 children now. If there's nothing important, don't disturb their lives. When Sun Min saw Teacher Li's message, she couldn't help but feel amused. Even if he had to eat a pile of shit, he wouldn't go back to eat grass. What's more, what did her ex-boyfriend do? He was able to make her unable to forget him. Chen Zhao was sunbathing on the beach. In the end, after closing his eyes for a while, he found that his body was covered with sand. Zhirlin held a small plastic shovel and kept shoveling sand from Chen Zhao's body. Little Larissa grabbed a handful of sand and sprinkled it on Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Baby, what are you guys doing?" "Wow. Sister. Yay. Little Larissa immediately cried out nervously. The first words little Larissa learned were not "daddy" or "mommy," but "big sister." Because little Zhirlin patiently taught little Larissa to call her big sister every day. This made Chen Zhao and Fei Lai angry for a few days. Their greatest joy had been taken away by little Zhirlin. Seeing that Chen Zhao had woken up, little Zhirlin immediately hid the shovel behind her. "Nothing." Little Zhirlin had a guilty expression. She avoided Chen Zhao's gaze and her eyes darted around. Chen Zhao laughed in anger and pushed the sand off his body. He picked up little Zhirlin and little Larissa and tossed them into the water. He told them to drink some salty water. Little Larissa wiped the sand off her face. He found another fish in the water. Grabbing the struggling fish, he threw it at Chen Zhao. "Bad, bad." Chen Zhao caught the fish and tossed it back into the sea. Spiritualists like Chen Zhao basically wouldn't kill living things unless they wanted to eat or drink. This was probably respect for life. Chen Zhao wasn't the only one. Most spiritualists were like this too. Unless it was a voodoo magic that required the blood of living creatures as a sacrifice. Under normal circumstances, they would try to kill as little as possible. Spiritualists believed in fate. In Buddhist terms, it was karma. Wantonly killing living things would result in karma. Chen Zhao believed it too. He didn't think that his fate was up to him. After all, he'd seen truly awesome people before. Those powerful existences believed in fate more. They didn't even think that his fate was up to him. Why did Chen Zhao think that he could change his fate? Those who thought they could defy the heavens and change their fate were the truly ignorant ones. Anyway, Chen Zhao still respected the world. If he really broke up his family to change his fate like in novels, then he wouldn't be awesome. He would be stupid. After playing with his two daughters on the beach, Chen Zhao carried them back to the cliff. Just then, the butler said, "Master, there's a call for you. It's from an unknown number." "Huh? Butler, your voice changed. Did you? It?" "Yes, master. I've sent your request to the head office. The company did it immediately." Chen Zhao didn't expect this AI company to be so diligent. Actually, this was because Chen Zhao didn't know these companies well. For example, this AI butler company. They didn't have many customers. But all of them were billionaires. So, they paid great attention to each customer's request. As long as it was a reasonable request and they could do it, they would all improve it. Of course, if the request was unreasonable or too much, they would choose to ignore it. "Call that number back." Dialing, beep, "Hello, who called me just now?" Chen Zhao asked. "Chen Zhao. I'm Sun Min." Chen Zhao was stunned. "Sun Min. How did she have his number?" "Oh, hello. Ha. It's been 2 years and you've learned to be polite." Compared to Chen Zhao's stiffness, Sun Min was relaxed and relaxed. "Chen Zhao, I heard that you went abroad. After that, your number in China became invalid. How are you now?" "I'm fine. Chen Xiao touched his nose. I saw you on the street and saw a woman beside you. I didn't want to cause unnecessary misunderstandings, so I didn't greet you. When are you free? Let's have a meal together. Please remember this book's domain name, mobile version. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.